Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, I think I speak for both fan bases when I say this. This game will mean everything for one fan base and will mean nothing for the other fan base. The winner, it's going to be great. The loser, it's going to suck. At the end of the day, it only matters what happens when you get to Omaha. If you get to Omaha, it's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Today is Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024. He's Olin Buchanan. He is our Heisman Trophy voter, our football expert, our friend. I'm David Nuño. OB.
Yes, sir.
This game matters for Texas more than it does for A&M at the moment.
Well,
now,
it appears to.
At the moment. If A&M were to lose this game, and I'm not saying they are, by the way, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. It's a midweek game that you lost, and first loss of the year is not cool, but like you're playing for bigger things than beating a team 90 miles away.
That is absolutely correct. Yet.
There's a yet.
It's always a big deal when A&M plays Texas.
100%.
And when Texas plays A&M.
It is. And you know what? I think it's a big deal, not only for the folks on social media that like to come at Aggie fans or go at SIP fans, but for the people in that locker room. You heard Schloss yesterday talk about it. Like, it matters. Like, this, Braden Montgomery's about to find out about this matters. So it does matter. They're sending their, I believe Tanner Witt's their ace, right?
Right.
You know?
That's where I'm going with that.
So it must matter to them.
Their number one pitcher didn't pitch over the weekend?
He pitched an inning or two.
Did he?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he pitched a little bit.
He didn't pitch a lot over the weekend.
No.
Obviously,
they were saving it
for this.
Yeah. Look, and I don't, as a fan, I love it if I'm Texas, right?
Well, that's fine.
Yeah. If Chris Cortez, who is probably the shakiest of the four starters, is that fair?
He's Luke Lelouch.
Yeah. When he's good, he's good.
You know, he has serious stuff.
And he's been really good this year. He's been really good, right?
When he gets the ball, when he has control, he's excellent with control, but you got to put in that caveat.
My point is, it really does matter to us. But hopefully in May and June, it's just an afterthought.
You always want to win the battle, but, you know, this won't decide both the war. Right?
In 22, they beat Texas in, it was when we were at the NIT, okay? At the NIT semifinal, they won that game. Mm-hmm. Then we fast forward to Omaha.
Yeah.
Had Texas won that game, that's the only thing that really matters,
right?
But who won that game?
A&M won.
Texas A&M. And they came from behind,
away,
right?
Yeah.
They were down 4-1, something like that.
I can't remember that. I know they were behind.
Yep.
And then A&M started, knocking the ball out of the park.
Right. So I cannot wait for tonight. It's going to be fun. It's, again, that I really hope that we win. And you know what? I would not be surprised if Tanner Witt has a really good, strong 2 or 3 innings, and then, bam, the bats explode. I would not be surprised.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this lineup hits anybody. So I'm with you there. Yeah.
It matters. This game matters, but it doesn't. This Nuño isn't for Nick.
When I came to work for the Eagle in 1992, I knew there was always a rivalry, football rivalry, Texas and Texas A&M. But then when I actually lived here and I realized that whatever sport, if it's club if it was club, what's that, curling?
Yeah.
If they had club curling, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
No matter what it is when you're playing Texas, it matters. So you're right. Over the grand scheme of what you're trying to accomplish this year, it's just one more step in a long journey. But, boy, this is a step you want to make.
You want to make this step. Look, especially
you want to push whatever's in front of you into the ground.
And you also don't want your first loss of the year to be to them.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying? I'd almost prefer the second loss of the year than the first loss, you know? You guys were undefeated. But I love the 12th win, though,
to me,
at their expense.
Yeah, I've learned that when you do lose to them, it really doesn't matter. It sucks no matter when it is. What I like is the idea of you're going over there to beat them again. It's an opportunity to go beat Texas again. And I think that's awesome. See, I don't look at it as, oh, man, I hope they don't get their first loss. That would suck. No, how glorious it'll be to go beat them again. And with that lineup, I would expect them to win.
The inconvenient pothole on YouTube says TU coming off.
That's what Texas is.
A pothole.
I said the long journey.
Yeah.
It's the inconvenient pothole.
Yeah. Yeah. He says they're coming off a rough weekend. Will have strong motivation. Their pitching is excellent, but the Ags bats prevail in late innings.
But that all sounds great. Texas would have strong motivation had they beaten Texas State and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Because it's A&M. So yeah, that's what I like about it. And this time next year it'll be it won't be this time, but next year it'll be a conference series.
It'll be a series. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be any fights to break out there.
I hope not. I do know that there should always be extra security when, and I've watched these non-conference teams. One time, Roger Clemens' kid hit a home run and came around first base, staring down A&M's dugout.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then one time, I think somebody from A&M, I can't remember who it was, scored a winning run or maybe hit a home run and came out doing the horns down, so they got their feelings hurt. And I'm sure they were asking the umpire to, call him out or something for doing a horns down because, that's what they do.
That's what they do. Let me read you some numbers here. Is it okay to read numbers?
Yeah.
Does it jinx or no?
Okay.
National rankings per NCAA. Our staff put this together. In ERA, they are first. 1.45. Yeah. Tied for first in shutouts at 4.
Okay.
I like the way this sounds so far.
Which is already double the number of shutouts they had all of last year, as Richard Zane has told me.
Let's see. Second in strikeout to walk ratio, 4.96. Second in whip, 0.91. Fifth in walks. Fourth in hits allowed per 9 innings. And ninth in strikeouts per 9 innings at 12. The pitching staff's 4 shutouts through the first 11 games are the most since 2016. Buddy. It's like the offensive line for football. If we could look into a crystal ball and say, fix one thing, and this team is going places, it would be the pitching staff for this team as of last year.
It is amazing.
And then the offensive line for the football team.
Right.
Oh, and cornerbacks, right?
But it's amazing the difference in the pitching already, right?
Mm-hmm.
The job that Wiener's done with that staff is I don't know if I got the right adjective yet.
And I've gotten to a point where I think because we've been burned before, there's this, we'll see what happens when we get to SEC. This is who they are. And are they going to be national rankings this great all season long? Absolutely not. You can't when you take on the SEC baseball schedule. But I think we've gotten to a point that we trust his pitching staff. We trust him way more than last year's regardless.
I definitely trust Prager.
Yep.
Definitely trust him. And
still figuring out Tanner Jones.
Yeah.
Still figuring out Justin Lanham.
Yeah. They've been good.
Evan Oshtenbach, we trust him.
I trust him
a lot. We're feeling better about Chris Cortez.
Yeah. Well, we can feel real good about him tonight if he can.
But we feel better.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Let's hope we feel better tonight. That's what,
absolutely.
At the moment,
I think that look, this game is like we talked about how important it is. I would think Chris Cortez is going to, I should put it this way. I would think Jim Schlosstegel's going to have a short leash.
Short leash, yeah.
If Chris is throwing strikes, they're going to keep him out there, and he's going to pitch all night long. If he starts to struggle and with his control, I think it's important enough a game that they'll probably lift him quickly if he's not throwing the ball over the plate.
If you guys want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us. You can text us. That number is 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. How are you feeling about tonight's game against Texas? I want to hear from you. You can text us. You can put it on the YouTube page. You can call us up because are you guys super confident? Are you worried because you got a little BAS in the back of your mind? Does it matter? I want to hear from you, 979-693-1150. Let's check in with the people. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do.
I don't even know if we're allowed to check in with the director today. I don't even know. We are? Oh, is that Nick Savage?
That is. It
Hi,
is
Nick.
Howdy, y'all.
How are you,
Good
buddy?
morning. I'm good. Good, happy, excited for tonight. I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. I think tonight is going to be one of those weird nights where the bats on both sides just decide to go off. So I think it's going to be like a 9-8, 8-7 type of game and come down to the wire. Coin flip in my head. Hopefully A&M prevails. Getting that 12th win over Texas would be kind of just like, chef's kiss. Be pretty sweet. But, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Just wish it wasn't on the freaking Longhorn Network. That kind of screws it up for a lot of people.
Look, this is probably – you'll probably appreciate this about me, but I don't really watch things on the Longhorn Network. So do they broadcast things all from a Longhorn perspective?
Yes.
Yay, they clap and stuff like that?
They don't clap, but I can remember –
Is it like TexAgs for them?
Kind of. I remember in Lowell Galindo, I think that it was a guy calling a game, and the guy, he threw a shortstop. I can't remember who it was, throw somebody out, but it was a good throw. It was one hop, though. He goes, and he makes a Bucky Richardson throw to first. Just Bush League crap like that, but that's who they are.
That's I mean, put it this way. If I were doing a game for a network that I knew both fan bases were watching and listening, I would be respectful to both fan bases.
And if I was, and I think you know me well enough to know I mean this, because it wouldn't have anything to do with A&M. But if I was like that guy's boss after the inning, I would have come in there and said, "You ever say anything like that again?"
Do they have a boss though?
Do it, yeah, sure. Do it, do it professionally.
Yeah.
That's all.
What I mean by that is, I feel like it's that department that is lost in the company that people forget that's even there.
This was several years ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's on life support, right? It's over when when they join the SEC. So I guess they're going to get all their.
It's going to be different for them for sure. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. We'll be at the Magnolia one on Saturday, 1 to 3 o'clock, getting ready for Aggie basketball, enjoying that, chit-chatting, a little Q&A. Luke Evangelist here with us. Hey, Luke.
Hey, David. When I came over here...
That was an awkward hey.
Okay. Whoa.
Hey, David. I don't know, you were, I don't know, just didn't seem normal.
Okay. Well, it's not a normal day. It's a pretty important day, and also something that wasn't normal. I came over here and the mic was already on, so I apologize to the creaking of the chair and anything I might have said under my breath that you might have heard for the first 2 minutes of the show. But Matthew Dawson, what are we doing? Why are we leaving the mic on? You're setting me up for failure over here.
Matthew Dawson always causing problems, OB.
Always. But so is Luke.
Yeah,
What?
Luke, you're a little cocky.
Oh, please.
You're a little cocky.
Okay, well, I'll just get right into it
So am I,
since
by the way.
I'm not going to go back and forth with y'all again. It's just another Tuesday for Aggie baseball, who remained at number 7 this week after sweeping the Globe Life Series. They'll travel to Austin. We've covered it at length, but if you want to know a little bit more, the Aggies have won 4 of the last 5 matchups, including 1 in Omaha and 2 in Austin. And, I'm kind of big on stats, so I did a deeper dive into this, and I found a stat that has a 100% success rate. So just let me know when you would like it.
When they score more runs than the opposing team, they win 100% of the time?
Yes, that too. But this one is a little bit more in-depth. So since Jim Schlossnagle arrived, when Texas A&M beats Texas in their midweek matchup, Texas A&M goes to Omaha 100% of the time.
Are you serious?
All I'm going to say is this game may be a little bit more important than we're chalking it up to be.
What's the record? What is it? What's the actual number?
1 for the good time, and then 1 for where they lost and didn't make it.
So they're 1-1.
Yeah, but what I mean is when they beat Texas, they make it to Omaha. When they lose, they don't.
Yeah, I think you're going to have more data to support it than one game. Yeah. But, Nick says he's cautiously optimistic. I'm not even cautiously. I'm optimistic.
Are you?
Yeah, I don't even think it's going to be a good Tuesday. I think it's going to be a Super Tuesday.
Super Tuesday.
Oh, he was waiting to say that one.
And he did the look, too.
And in fact, I'm going to go vote as soon as the show's over.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I wonder what direction you might go.
Well, I'm going to go. Oh,
yeah, that way.
Yeah, to the
voting place.
Yeah,
voting center. Luke, what else?
Well, someone who probably does their due diligence in voting is Trisha Ford because she can do no wrong. After a 4-1 weekend, number 17 Aggie softball is 19-2 and off to their best start since 2017, which was the last year that they made it to the Women's College World Series. They, like their counterparts, Aggie baseball, also have an incredibly important midweek game against an in-state foe because they're hosting North Texas at Davis Diamond on Wednesday before SEC play starts with number 20 South Carolina coming to College Station. So if you want to come out and support Trisha Ford and her team, come out to Davis Diamond for a top 25 matchup to open SEC play and watch them beat their rival in a meaningless midweek game.
You just don't overlook the mean green. But my question to you then is, so every time they win a home game against North Texas, do they go to the Women's College World Series?
He hasn't done
I have not done that stat yet.
Yeah. We are going to ramp up our softball coverage on the show. We get Trisha Ford every other week. We're going to do more than that. They deserve it. They've been so much fun. So we're going to ramp it up. In fact, I know Nick is looking into getting a couple of national guests. So Nick, I think we talked about that, right? Yep, he did. All right, so let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll break actually on time for the first time in a while. When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, we'll get to some of your text messages and your calls. This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of morning by going to texags.com/coffee. When we come back, the performance of the week, your phone calls, your text messages. Right now, though, we're talking about the Association of Former Students. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students because they bring Aggies of all ages together during events held throughout the year. You've got awesome events. You know them. Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and Gathering. They welcome tens of thousands of guests to these events, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. All events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So, if your business is ready to engage, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. That is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. I do like this one.
Dwight Yoakam?
DY. Do it yourself, Dwight Yoakam. That makes sense. TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, which is the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. Love those folks over there. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anybody in Texas. They got over 50 offices here in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters is here on Highway 6 in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. Shall we do a little performance of the week, Olin Buchanan?
We shall.
I'm going to allow you the opportunity to give the first one.
Well, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here and go with Braden Montgomery.
Braden Montgomery. Shall we see those stats there? 454.
That's good.
2 dingers.
Yeah.
9 RBI.
One
2
of those
walks.
dingers was a grand slam.
Yeah. And by the way, against the team that beamed him twice after his last home run.
Yeah. What a performance.
Billy yesterday on the show said he's having a hard time remembering a 1-2 combination in that Aggie lineup that rivals this. These guys, I mean, with Jason and Braden, and really 1 through 9, you feel pretty comfortable.
Look, I don't want to oversell things and act like I'm a baseball expert because I'm not.
But you watch baseball.
But I watch baseball. But I'll say this. From college, maybe we're seeing I really want to say this correctly without, again, overhyping. But maybe we're seeing the beginnings of Texas A&M's version of the
Bash Brothers,
the Mississippi State, when they had Palmeiro and Will Clark hitting together.
You know what I like?
Is that really outrageous to suggest that? I'm not saying they're there. I'm saying, but maybe we're seeing.
How many years did they play together?
Well, several. But I'm talking about one amazing.
One amazing. Let's hope so. You know what I liked about that whole thing?
What?
Rafael Palmeiro.
He's a Cuban guy.
Fake family member of mine. Yeah. Have you heard that? Have you heard that story?
No, please just tell me.
All right, you guys. For a moment, I think the Philip Vargas and the baseball audience will appreciate this.
But Luke has the Palmeiro mustache.
He does kind of look like. Do you know Rafael Palmeiro?
Yeah, we've covered this before, and I did my research after that moment, after not knowing.
Okay, I don't remember what I tell people. Okay. So back in I think 88, 89. No, it's probably 89. Palmeiro was the first baseman for the Texas Rangers. Jose Canseco was the right fielder for the Oakland A's. I was a big Jose fan. I'd go and watch them play in Arlington. You've heard that story of me hanging out with Jose. Well, I have an aunt who was related to Palmeiro, like through marriage.
Okay.
So I claimed him as my cousin as a kid.
Got you.
And one day, we're at the hotel where the A's were staying. This is a different day than I hung out with the A's, all right? This is a different day. We're having breakfast, my father and I, and my dad hears somebody talking behind us with a Cuban accent. And my dad goes, that guy's Cuban. Because, like, New York accents, you can tell when somebody's from there, right? And he turns around, are you Cuban? Yes, I am. And they start talking. It's Rafael Palmeiro's dad.
How about that?
Okay. So Palmeiro's dad tells me, because my dad said he's one of his favorite players. He goes, well, Rafi's going to be here in a few minutes to have breakfast with us. I'd like to introduce you to him.
Awesome.
So Palmeiro comes in, and he sees what I'm wearing. I'm wearing decked out in Oakland A's shirts.
Of course you are.
His shirt and hat, and we took a picture. He was very nice, but he did tell me I was wearing the wrong outfit to be a big Palmeiro fan, but he was very nice.
Did you distribute any Viagra?
At that time, Viagra wasn't a thing. I was also 12, which would have been weird.
Well, your dad was there.
he was probably 60. He probably could have used it. That being said, he was very nice. And then I remember watching his rise in baseball because he was always a contact hitter. And then all of a sudden, he became a home run hitter.
Imagine that.
And I'm like, dude, how did this happen? Didn't he hit 50 jacks one year?
It was all that working out in the gym.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's a Cuban thing to do.
So let's stay on the baseball track.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
How about Ryan Prager for performance of the week?
How about him?
Look at that. 5 innings, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts, no walks. The dude was on fire.
Richard Zane was absolutely giddy.
Was this the article where no, this was a different one, right?
No, he's been calling him the Big Jew for some time. Yeah. And apparently he ran into Ryan's mother up in Arlington. And she says, first of all, she likes it, the nickname too. And she said, but he said, I enjoy, watching your son play. And she says, I enjoy watching you enjoy my son play.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
That's great.
Yeah.
This job does afford us these opportunities to meet these families, and it's always so nice to do that. All right, so that's the second one. Shall we do Boots Radford?
Heck yeah.
I mean, do you like double-doubles, OB?
I do.
especially when they needed the win a few
when
games
one of them's
ago.
20 points.
Yeah, well, what's the record with him? It's 20, 7-1.
I think they finally lost the second one, or maybe it's 7-1 this year.
This season, I think it's 7-1.
I think overall, like in his history, they're like 15-2 or something like that when he scores 20.
Hey, and his 3-point percentage, 3 of 9. I'll take that all day.
Oh, heck yeah!
I don't love him shooting 9 threes personally because I don't think he's a 3-point shooter. But he hit 3 of them, so I can't complain.
33% from 3-point range equates to 50% from the field.
Yeah.
So, take that every time.
They needed that performance in the worst way because Georgia is not a better team than A&M, but a very capable team, especially at home, of beating big teams.
Yes.
You got a good text
That was
message?
just something from Richard saying that.
Okay. Ricardo. All right, and let's do I'm going to allow Luke to handle this one. Luke, what's the last one?
The last one is going to be Emily Kennedy, A&M softball pitcher. We all know that she won back-to-back SEC Pitchers of the Week, but now that is back-to-back-to-back Apex Performer of the Week, which you could argue is a little bit more important than SEC Pitcher of the Week. She did that, earning her 9th win of the season, striking out 10 batters and going the distance for the 8th time in her 9th start. She recorded double-digit strikeouts for the 3rd consecutive start, making it the first time an Aggie starter has done that since Lexi Smith in 2017. A lot of themes back to 2017, the last time they made it to the Women's College World Series.
Here's a great thing about softball is it's the delivery is not as taxing on the pitcher, right? So the pitcher can pitch every game if you want her to. And I'm thinking when A&M gets into the playoffs this year, they're going to be really tough to beat because they can just send her out there every game.
Yeah, no, she's ridiculous. Hey, can we get some text messages? Is that all right?
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Luke, what do you got for us?
I've got one from Trey and Shiner who says, midweek games are mostly considered tune-ups, but we need to win this one. Don West has the opposite opinion, says, totally disagree with you, David. It means more to TU than us.
I said that.
No, he's saying he's questioning it. And then he said an unbeaten team losing to TU is a disaster as far as we are concerned.
Disaster might be.
You
might be taking it too far.
This is why I think it means more for TU. They're 7-4. They lost a whole weekend of games, right? I think when you're tail spinning like that, no matter who you're playing, it becomes a big deal. A&M is pretty safe regardless of what happens today. For fan pride, it means the same for both. We all want it. I'm just saying national perception. A&M loses this game, I don't think it does anything.
Okay, first of all, again, Texas saved their ace for the midweek game, and I believe, and if there was somebody from Texas listening to us that knows better, let me know. But it's from my understanding that David Pierce, the baseball coach over there, is in a little bit of hot water.
Yeah.
So he probably needs this game. It would probably cool the flames a little bit.
I remember when Charlie Strong and even Tom Herman years and other coaches, I would always want not this game, guys. Please don't mistake what I'm saying. I would always want for them to win certain games that would keep their job.
Yeah.
So they don't have an opportunity to get a Nick Saban or somebody really big, like the next big guy in college baseball. So I don't know. David Pierce has done a very nice job at Texas. Obviously, they're having a rough start here, and it's not even rough. Teams lose to good teams. They took on 2 SEC teams this past weekend. That happens, right? But
also lost to Texas State.
They also lost to Texas State. I would prefer for them not to be able to go get the next big fish. So don't win today, but win some games later on that matter, and then lose, and then lose again.
The thing is, especially with baseball, they have such high expectations because from Garrido and Gustafson, they were so good that being good as a coach isn't good enough.
So John Dutton sends a message. Luke, read this last one.
The guy from Yellowstone?
Yeah, he's listening. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Kevin Costner's character.
Yeah, I've got multiple text messages that have sent in this idea. Says, a simple workaround for the Longhorn Network homers, watch the TV with the volume down and then tune in to Will Johnson on the radio and internet broadcast.
Let me tell you why that doesn't always work. Because sometimes the delay doesn't match.
Right.
I've tried to do that at games, like when we're at Kyle Field. I sometimes like to put on my headphones to listen to Monaco to hear what he has to say. The delay sometimes doesn't match up the way I want it to.
Okay.
So All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with, are you familiar with the Super League concept that's thrown around there in college football?
Are we talking about SEC and
the bigger version of that, yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about that when we come back. Right now we're talking.
I predicted it years ago.
Like when you say years ago, like
when I was working for Rivals.
Really, that long ago?
You can ask Barton Simmons.
I don't have to. I believe you.
I'm surprised I didn't talk about it on your show.
You probably did, but buddy, I barely remember anything. I don't remember what I ate yesterday. Legit, I don't remember.
I don't believe that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I'll tell you. You had some chicken, you had some broccoli, and some rice. That's what you had yesterday.
Actually, yesterday did I have chicken? I did not have chicken yesterday. I believe I had pork loin.
That's why you forgot.
Yeah, it was a little different. And I did have vegetables. Let's talk Chance McClain and Heritage Films. He probably eats vegetables. He probably eats chicken too. And he definitely tells people stories. He's been doing that for a long time. He's a very creative guy. You guys know the resume. I'll just kind of give you the Wikipedia version of it. He was at Sports Radio 610 as the program director. He then started 1560 The Game. He made the Yao Ming song, which was viral before viral was even a thing. He has done Broadway musicals. He's done comedies. He's done movies. He's been at red carpet shows. And a couple years back, Michael Berry, who does a talk show in Houston, asked for a chance to, he knew he was good with film and movies. He was like, can you do a documentary on my dad? And that became a business for Chance because he had so much fun telling Michael Berry's dad's story. And he's been doing it for Aggies, like legit. His roster of people is mostly A&M people because we care about our history more. Let's just be honest about it. We love telling our story. He can tell your family business, your family ranch, and your patriarch story. We all have a great story to tell, and Chance can do that in a 2-hour documentary form. He also does the Year Flicks, a 20-minute video, Q&A, green screen, fun questions, benchmark video, usually reserved for the younger kids. And you can do these in parts, right? You do 1 year, the freshman year of high school, follow that up with maybe their senior year to their freshman year at A&M to when they get their Aggie ring. You know the deal. You get yourself a 4 or 5 part series. It's awesome. The website for Heritage Films is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Our buddy Will Johnson listening to the show this morning. Will, what up, buddy? He sends in a text message, syncmygame.com to sync radio with TV broadcast. Now that I know this, I didn't know this bit of information. I should listen to the advertising on the broadcast, apparently. But I'm all in now. Like, I never have to listen to anybody I don't want to. I can listen to Will. I can listen to Monaco. I can listen to everybody.
I've never even heard of that.
I love this. Syncmygame.com.
So we learn things.
Huh. What else? This is fantastic information, Will. Thank you very much. We're going to get Will in studio. Also, Nick correctly told us during the break, that Tanner Witt is not their ace. He was a couple years back. He had Tommy John surgery in 22, right around the same time that Ryan Prager did. So he's coming back. He announced that he would be coming back for unfinished business with the University of Texas. But he is definitely a very good pitcher.
He's been their star pitcher before then.
Yeah.
I guess he's not their ace because he's working his way back into that status.
Yeah.
I still think they probably saved him for this game because they felt like, all right, we're going to put one of our maybe our most talented guy out there.
Mr. EP or ESP says, Nuño, don't be lazy. Just pause the video feed for a second or two and match it up to the radio.
You don't have to do that. You just go sync my broadcast.
Syncmybroadcast.com. Sync it.
Sync it.
Sync it. Sorry, that was very aggressive by me. Maybe I can send them that spot so they could be like, oh, you know what? I want to advertise on TexAgs.
Yeah.
Anyway. Hey, Super League talk.
Okay.
So typically the Super League talk is reserved for European soccer, your favorite topic on the show. But you predicted it. You told me that, years, and I remember you telling me that before, that this would eventually happen. But beyond that, I guess, who was it that was on it was Trent Dilfer. He went on with Cole Kubelik and the gang and Greg McElroy, and he talked a little bit about how he thinks it's going to happen over the next 18 months.
That soon, okay.
I don't see that happening over the next 18 months. But, 18 months, I feel like that's a little
2026.
That this is all just posturing for that. Like this, maybe
things do seem to happen fast.
Yep. He says here, I got a little bit of the quotes here. He told that there would be a break off to about 50 to 60 teams that operate in a similar manner to professional football. Mm-hmm. That he went as far as to say venture capitalists currently are looking to buy college franchises and essentially operate them like a team owner. And I don't think even that you and I, with all the changes we've seen, thought it would come this quickly. Trent Dilfer talking to those guys. A lot of people would hear $1 billion, 20% of that, and they would think that there's a large sum. Then other people would say, yeah, it's a large number, but also 20% to people who have no bearing over who wins titles. So basically, then Andy Staples went on, and I believe he did it with Cole, to break it down what it could potentially look like. And they did it over 48 teams. I don't know what the right number is, but let's say it's 48 teams, and they broke it down into a Big Ten, Atlantic, and East, Midwest, and West, and then SEC, Atlantic. They called it the Moonshine, the Mid-South, and also the Southwest, and all the teams that would be in it. Just to read you what Andy Staples would say would be in A&M's division, if you will, the Southwest division.
So they're getting rid of the divisions, but eventually they'll
bring
be
back
to divisions.
This is just what Andy Staples
but
is
I think they're going to have to, but go ahead.
Texas. Texas A&M,
okay.
Texas Tech,
mm-hmm.
Oklahoma,
okay.
Oklahoma State,
okay.
Kansas State. I hate it. I feel like we're back in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I understand why they would regionally, but
see, and if I'm Texas Tech or Kansas State, I'm like celebrating that because that means I'm in.
Yeah,
and I don't know that they will be.
Would you like to hear the Moonshine Division?
Yeah, the Moonshine Division.
Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky,
heck yeah,
West Virginia,
oh heck yeah,
Valtech.
There's a lot of moonshine going there. We'll just how they call ACC basketball that Tobacco Road. That'd be Copperhead Road.
Copperhead Road. Let me give you one.
You're familiar with that song, right?
Buddy, it's my youth.
Okay,
that's why I'm doing this because of that show. Mid-South, okay?
The Mid-South Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, right. Arkansas,
Pig Suey,
Ole Miss,
Hotty Toddy,
Mississippi State.
I don't know what they say. Clang, clang, clang.
Missouri.
They just say, why can't we be in the Big Ten?
LSU.
Yeah, they just curse a lot. Vandy.
Sounds like they have.
See, how does Vandy?
Vandy needs to be relegated in football at least.
Well, again, what's happened?
You need to have bad teams, though. You have to have them.
I truly believe that Vanderbilt was told start investing in your program, or we don't have to keep you.
Right.
And that's why they're investing in their program now. I truly believe that.
Well,
and that's how why they're still being considered a team that'll be in the gigantic conference or the new league.
The way I'm wired, OB, is when something is inevitable, I don't want to wait. Let's just do it tomorrow. And I know you can't do it tomorrow, but like if I have a torn ACL and they want to, schedule my surgery for 3 weeks, let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's get it over with, right? Like pull the Band-Aid off. Let's go. Whatever it is.
You're like Jeremy Foley. Whatever has to be done eventually should be done immediately.
Exactly. That's how I feel. So if this is what we're thinking, guys, I understand that, like in politics and in sports, you got to give a little to get a little, and
there are contracts out there,
right.
Legalities.
Let's just figure it out. A weekend in Destin, I could be there if you want, and then we could just figure it out.
Lucci actually told me that he wants me to go to Destin again in May.
Did he really?
It's a tough job.
You know what? I think he needs to reconsider just sending you.
Well, he said he may go too.
I think he needs to reconsider that. He goes on enough trips. I think he needs to send Nuño to do radio interviews with coaches that don't want to be interviewed.
They do like to be interviewed.
But not on Radio Row, do they? Do they stop at Radio Row for that?
There is no Radio Row.
Okay. Well, we can make our own.
Yeah, you can.
Hey, come up to
my
room.
Clay Travis always did.
Kalen DeBoer, come up to my room. Excuse me? Pardon? All right. Another thing, OB, another national topic for you. Are you familiar with Arch Manning?
I am familiar with him.
Did you know that he has turned down the option to be on the EA college football game? Not that you're a big EA college football fan, but
my son used to play it.
And the reason for it is that he wants to be focused on playing football on the field. That's why he's not accepting how much was it, $600 or $600,000?
$600 and a copy of the game.
Okay. He didn't want that. He thinks it's too low. He wanted more, apparently. That's what people are reporting, that he wanted more money than the $600. But he's not going to be on the game. By the way, I don't care if you choose to be on the game or not. But I don't know. I believe you can focus on more than one thing in life.
Yeah, so why would they? So obviously they put in the guys.
They'll just put his jersey number without a name, I assume, is what they'll do.
But don't they try to make the player better based on the numbers that they put, the thing they've done? So
or projections, yes.
Like if you had this in 2013, you were playing A&M, you had a quarterback number 2, he would probably do better things. You would have an opportunity to do better than if you were somebody else.
Correct. Yep.
So what has Arch Manning done?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, and he's not going to be the starter this year unless something happens to Quinn Ewers.
So I kind of respect that.
You do? Okay.
If the reason is like, look, I just need to focus on football, not this.
If you would say, I haven't done anything yet, I don't deserve to have my name in the game, that I could respect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But if you're saying, I need to focus on football.
I don't even have a problem with that. Now, if you're saying, no, I think I deserve more money than that, I would say, why? But if you're saying, hey, look, I'm focused on trying to be better, don't pay me for something I haven't even done yet.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
And it's not, if it's $600, besides, that's not even front pocket money for the Mannings. It's what would $600 to the Mannings equate to me?
$45.
Like the pennies that I put in not a lot more than the pennies that I put in my jar at home.
Yeah,
would be their $600.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. Another one for you. We'll do that on the other side of the break. Right now, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you're looking for a vehicle, you should start your search at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. You go there, you see the cars that they have, you see the selection, and then you start your time to find the right car, right? You've got the idea. You go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet there in Caldwell, and you get to see the car that you kind of saw online. You got to see it in person, right? You see it in person, you test drive it, you get the great customer service, and bam, you become a happy customer. That's how the story goes for everybody that goes to Caldwell Country Chevrolet. The best customer service, really good pricing, really good trade-in value, and an incredible selection. And again, the customer service is the best out there. When you go there, you know they're going to take care of you every step of the way. Proud sponsors of Aggie Athletics. That's why, that's not why, but part of the reason why R.C. Slocum and Dante Hall and many others have gone there is because of the amazing customer service and their commitment to the Brazos Valley. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. Bryan, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com.
Or
It's your jam?
I really like Steve Earle. He's one of my favorites.
I say that to you often. Is this your jam? I don't think you've ever used that like in a conversation, say when talking about music, right? You don't say that's my jam.
No,
what do you say? That is my hit. What do you call it?
I say, man, that's a good tune.
That's a good tune.
That's a good tune. I like that.
What does your generation say, Luke?
That's a banger.
That's a banger. OB,
Yeah,
I want you to start,
my son say that.
I want you to start talking like that.
That's a banger.
TexAgs Radio.
Man, what about that shirt, man? That shirt's kind of banging there.
It's not.
You're banging out of it with your huge biceps.
Wow, hey now.
With
hey.
your biceps.
My buddy George.
Banging out there.
George Clendenin owns an Integrity Training Center. And I'm going to actually go to his Handgun 101 class because I'm trying to be the perfect weapon. So, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I did it yesterday.
Yeah.
It was great. I had a great class. And I'm going to learn, because I've always had a phobia of handguns.
Yeah.
And I'm about to be Magnum PI, bro. Walk, I'm driving around. Hey!
They're gonna be able to teach us some integrity.
You should come with me, OB.
I'm a lost cause.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the class here in a couple weeks, and then I think after one class, I'll be the perfect weapon.
You're ready to shoot somebody?
I don't know about that, but you walk up on the property.
Yeah.
Hey now.
Yeah.
I already got flashlights around the house. Like, I've become a prepper.
A what?
A prepper. You know what a prepper is?
No.
Right.
Someone who's prepared.
We need to, yes. This whole cell phone thing
Preparing
last week.
for the apocalypse.
Yeah. This whole cell phone thing last week has got me thinking, there's a lot I need to learn how to do. I need to learn how to, like, hunt, and I need to learn how to, like, communicate with people without my cell phone.
We've got we've got a whole closet. We're stockpiled. We're ready.
Are you ready? Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke Evangelist.
Okay.
Hey,
why
is it so awkward today?
I thought you were going to say something else after that. I don't know.
I just think your smile tells the world how happy you are.
Thank you. I'm happy because I get to watch great baseball tonight.
Have you ever had a frown?
A frown? No, never. Not a day in my life.
He always smiles. Like, I don't think you can trust somebody that only smiles.
Yeah, you know what? He doesn't have a mortgage yet.
This is true.
Hey, I'm invested in Buzz Williams basketball. I know what pain and sadness looks like.
This is
okay.
true. When you leave games, do you smile? Even though you're sad? Like, are you like the Joker?
Yeah, I smile because I'm thankful that I got to watch Aggie basketball, and I'm a student. I get to go to games. It's included in the sports pass. Why would I not be happy that I get to watch my favorite team play?
I'm not joking here. Your parents should be very proud. That's
awesome.
A good
attitude.
That is a great attitude. All right, now I felt like an old man saying that. Let's get into the news.
Okay, I've got some more text messages about the game today. PG Ag in King Oaks says the Sips have lost 3 straight. We're unbeaten. We definitely don't want to lose to them ever, but they need this one badly. Their coach is feeling the heat. Chris is anxious about this game. Bus driver agrees with Nick and is cautiously optimistic. So a lot of, I wouldn't say mixed opinions, but for the most part, general positivity about this game.
Look, it's a huge game tonight. Like, it's going to matter tonight and for 365 days for this fan base, right? For each other. But I want this. I want it all.
I want it all.
You know what? I want everything.
Would they be the first undefeated national champion?
Okay.
That's what I want.
I don't think that's realistic.
No, it's not, but I still want it.
Yeah, I do too. You know what? If we're just going to be unrealistic, but want things, let's throw in football.
I want it all. I want to win. I want to be the first program to win the national championship in football, basketball, baseball, and women's basketball.
And women's golf.
Softball, all in the same year.
Volleyball, Jamie.
All in the same year.
Let's do that. Archery.
That would be a banger.
See? Back in my day, that meant something different. All right.
It still does.
How do I move on from that?
I used to drink a bang every morning.
When your heart would explode on the show?
And Stephen McGee would say, you're too old to drink that. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I wouldn't let my kids drink that unless they want to sponsor. No, I wouldn't. I would not.
It's a banger.
Oh, man.
I hope the rest of the show is a banger after
it's going to be great. We got Justin Lanham going to be with us. He's our basketball analyst. He's a banger.
Banger.
Bang
Kind of like Anderson Garcia is a banger down low.
Have you ever heard this one? From way downtown, bang.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Who did that?
Mike Breen.
Is that a Mike Breen thing?
I don't even know who that is.
I thought it was like a Stuart Scott thing or somebody on SportsCenter. From way downtown, bang.
Have you never heard of a guy who rebounds a lot being a banger?
Yeah, no, I've heard that. I just, there's a certain connotation that you're using it with. I think you're trying to make a little joke.
Gangbanger?
No,
what? Exactly like that.
No, I'm talking about when you get down low and you're.
That's a legit thing. Charles Barkley.
Banger.
He was a banger.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace.
Banger.
Patrick Ewing.
Banger.
David Nuño.
He's got 4 kids.
Hey, everybody. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2, cleaning up the show a little bit. We're going to try to talk I think we're going to try to talk to Justin Lanham here on the program. We go to the hotline. Justin, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's up, buddy? How you been?
I'm great. How are you?
It's good. Hey, I got to say, we hung out at the Angry Elephant on Saturday. I know I was a little busy. We couldn't spend too much time, but it was cool to see the listeners responding to you and chatting with you, and Brandon being there and Lucci being there. It was a fun time.
Man, it was a blast. I was glad that I was able to make it. I was up there. We're going to be moving to the DFW area here pretty soon, and so we were up there this weekend looking for a house, and so the fact that Brandon and myself were able to get over there and see some Aggies that I hadn't seen in a while, and I thought it was really cool.
So for our Houston audience, we're going to be at the Magnolia location. I know for some of you that may be a little bit far, but if you're in the area, if you want to make the 30, 40-minute drive on Saturday, wherever it may be, come hang out with us at the Magnolia Angry Elephant, 1 to 3 o'clock. There will be a fun time. We'll do a Q&A. We'll chit-chat. Trust me, if you go to the Dallas Boards, you'll get a lot of time to chit-chat with all of us. All right, Justin, are you more optimistic? You got to be more optimistic after the Georgia game, but long term, can that win be a thing moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit more optimistic. I mean, obviously, I don't feel like it could have gotten much worse, the streak that we were on, and so you're a little bit more optimistic, and I do think it can be a thing the next 2 games for sure, and so I mean, like we said, I think it was last Tuesday, we felt like we had to, have 10 wins in conference play to get in the dance. But, at least if you go 9-9, maybe you give yourself a chance and just hope like some things work out in your favor. Maybe some teams not winning their conference that's not supposed to and still in a spot from us or something like that. We just got to hope some things happen in our favor.
So Wade, again, I think he's averaging 10 points a game 10.2 points a game in his last 4 games. Again, below his average, and typically that's a recipe for disaster. Yet this game, it wasn't. Why was that the case?
Yeah, I think, he was finding guys in spots, his assists. I can't remember exactly how many assists he had, but I think he was finding some guys and finding ways to impact the game. I think we've talked about that before on this show with other guys, specifically guys like Jace Carter and Anderson Garcia, and just finding ways to impact the game. And to me, that's the true testament of a really good player, is when things aren't going your way, you get in foul trouble, you're not shooting the ball well. Are you still valuable enough to get on the floor? And I think Buzz talked about it, like his plus minus was off the charts. I think it was still the highest on the team. And you feel like you still can play a guy like that when even things maybe for him individually don't feel like they're going the right way. You still feel like you can play a guy because he is giving you other things and he's contributing in other ways. And so that's all you can ask for. Guys are not going to be at their best every single game, and so when you're not at your best, how are you impacting the game? And I think Wade was still able to do that in other ways.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. You were texting me this morning. We were going back and forth, and you wanted me to there's a topic that I didn't know how to get into, so let's just throw it out there. Is there a player that possesses something, an attribute that you really are intrigued by, and give me the why behind it?
Yeah, I was watching back the Georgia A&M game because we were at the Angry Elephant, I wasn't able to watch as much of it as I wanted to, and so I had to go back and rewatch a little bit of the end of that game. But one of the things that I love is it's like a dog chasing after a ball when you're watching with his tongue out, he's just eager to go get the ball. And that's the way I feel like when Solomon Washington is chasing down a block.
Yep.
You just see his eyes get so big, and he plays so high above the rim, and he can just contest at the rim. And that is one of my favorite things to see. And because a lot of players give up on plays, but Solomon Washington, he does not give up on any play. I feel like he's going to try as hard as he can. He's busting his tail just to get a fingertip on a ball. And, you don't realize in the moment how big and impact that can have on the rest of the game. And so you just see Solomon give his all and so much effort every single play. And so I just love to see him chase down blocks. And I just have this image in my head of, of him just getting his eyes getting big and him chasing players down from behind and getting a hand on a ball.
So, Justin, yesterday on the show we had Buzz on, and he talked about the amount of threes that teams take on them, and it sounded like that's kind of like their recipe. Is that how you took it?
Yeah, and by that, do you mean that's A&M's recipe?
Yeah,
or
that's what they want.
Teams?
And I have a follow-up to that because I think it's interesting that if that is what they're trying to do, they are trying to force teams into what do you think? I mean, you coach. Do you think that's what they're trying to do is force teams to shoot threes?
Yeah, and I think that helps their recipe for keeping teams out of the paint. And when you keep teams out of the paint, you're probably going to foul less. And so Buzz likes to get to the free throw line before other teams. And so because teams are shooting more threes from outside, they're probably not getting into the lane and getting fouled and hacked and stuff like that. And so I would imagine that, yes, that is the case. I just feel like at times it can be dangerous. I mean, Georgia shot, I believe it was 41 threes on Saturday. And, if they're hitting, any decent percentage out of those 41, then that's going to be hard to overcome for us because we know that we don't shoot the ball well from outside. So I can see where, when they feel like we win the rebound margin, we win the free throw or getting to the free throw line before them and the little things that we do like that, when we win those margins, yeah, it makes sense. But if teams are shooting well from outside, then that could be a recipe for disaster for sure.
So here's where I struggle with that concept. And look, when their defense is on point, A&M's a very hard team to beat. But if you're wanting for other teams to do that, I feel like other teams want A&M to do that. So it's like a volleyball game of and who's the better three-point shooting team. And at this rate, I'll probably take the other team when it comes to three-point shots, no matter who they are.
Yeah, 100%, especially in conference play. You would take all the 13 other teams for sure. So, yeah, and I think we've talked about this before too, is when teams are shooting well, we feel like, or I won't say we, I feel like it's so hard to overcome because when we start jacking threes, we know our percentage, we know who we are. And so we know that's going to be really hard for us to overcome. So I get it. I understand. And I've come on here multiple times and said that I feel like we help a little bit too much. But because we help too much, that's why teams are shooting outside shots and shooting more threes. And so it sounds like it's by design. And by watching, I think it is by design. And so to each their own, everybody's got their identity. And if that's their identity on defense, then it is what it is. But when those teams are hitting shots and shooting a decent, it doesn't even have to be a great. That's the sad thing, David, is they don't even have to shoot a great 3-point percentage to really feel like that they can beat us. If they just feel like they can shoot a decent 3-point percentage, then I do think a lot of times they're gonna get the best of us.
We're talking here on TexAgs Radio with Justin Lanham, basketball analyst. Justin, let's follow up that train of thinking because I think it all really boils down to what A&M does well for that recipe to work, right? So in this game against Georgia, A&M won the battle of free throws, right? They hit them. They got to the line. They won the rebound. They put they had more putbacks. Like they played their brand of basketball to accompany that kind of philosophy. And if I were to simplify it, that's what they got to do. They just got to win the hustle points, and those games go their way.
Yeah, they do, and we know that. I think every Texas A&M basketball fan that watches the game closely know that that's how we're going to have to win games, and so be it. We're not changing it this late in the season. We weren't changing it 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. I mean, it just is what it is, and so that's tough to swallow sometimes, because I just feel like that doesn't have to be our MO. I think that we can be a team and a program that could recruit guys that have the ability to do other things and just kind of be the blue collar. And look, I'm not saying I don't want to be a blue collar team. I love that mentality. And just like what Elko's bringing to the football team, I think he's bringing that kind of blue collar mentality back. And I think that's good for Texas A&M, but I don't think it would hurt for us to have a little bit more offense that we feel like we can go to at times instead of just the putbacks and the points in the paint and stuff like that. So the game of basketball has transitioned so much over the last 10 years that it's hard to just be that blue collar team all the time, because we all know the sexy thing in basketball is to knock down shots from outside, and obviously it gives you an advantage when you're exchanging threes and twos. And so unfortunately, a lot of times we're on the opposite end of that, and we're exchanging twos with the other team's threes. And so sometimes that's really hard to overcome for us.
It is TexAgs Radio here, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Justin Lanham with us. All right, Justin, we know what they got to do. Like the chances of making the tournament are going to, if there is a chance, they're going to have to win out these next couple of games, and they're going to have to win a little bit in the SEC tournament. Can they do what I just said? Can they? Of course they can. But can they, unless Wade gets back to being Wade and Henry being a contributor? I mean, they won a game with Henry not being out there and Wade struggling with 4 points. But can they do it without those guys being getting back to what they normally do?
Yeah, and first off, to that point, it sounded like, a lot of times Buzz keeps all that stuff close to the chest, so we never know until game time. But it sounded like the commentators Saturday night said that they didn't even think that Henry, he may not be available tomorrow night. And so if that's the case, again, what you worry about these next two games is foul trouble. We were able to kind of scoot by on Saturday with Solomon and some foul trouble and stuff like that. And so you worry about some depth issues down low, and just with our size already being somewhat of an issue, you worry about that. And so with that being said, though, I think we're starting to see a little bit more confident Manny playing, and he's kind of emerging as a guy that we can go to get downhill and score some buckets inside and things like that. And so, it's just that mentality, next guy up mentality. I know that sounds so cliche to say, and it's probably coach speak, but that's the truth. It's just the next guy up mentality. And I think if there's a coach or a team that I would say that could really embrace that mentality, it's a Buzz Williams coach team. Is just the fact of, hey guys, like, our back's against the wall. This is what it is. These are the facts that have been given to us, and these are this is the situation that we're in now. And so it's just, hey, who's the next guy up? And you can tell on that bench, you can tell a disengaged bench, and you can tell a team that's given up. And I can tell you right now, watching the games, that's not a team that's given up yet. And it gives me chill bumps thinking about it, just because I know how hard it is as a coach to keep a team engaged when things aren't going your way, and to be on a 5-game losing streak, and just to be in the trenches with those guys. And you can tell that team is close. They haven't given up yet. They're still fighting. And so that's super encouraging to see.
Talking to Justin Lanham here on TexAgs Radio. So let's kind of follow this train of thought. 2 years ago, I don't know who was carrying the torch, but eventually it was Quentin Jackson, right? Last year, yep. I think the season started with Boots carrying the torch and then Wade Taylor taking over. And, of course, they had games where Boots would be the higher scorer. But I'm just saying Wade became the dominant force at the end of last season. This year, Wade starts off as a dominant force, and right now is Boots carrying the load. And it's just interesting how this team can alternate from who is going to be the go-to guy. What do you think about the way Boots has been playing here the last, 10 games or so?
Yeah, I would say that he's been a little bit more consistent. I mean, there's been some games where maybe he hasn't performed as well as he's wanted to, but for the most part, he's been kind of the constant that we've kind of needed. But I'll tell you this, I haven't really thought, I guess, in that way about this team as much. Like, I know a lot of us would probably say, like, we're probably not going to win a game if Wade and Boots don't score 20-plus points. And I know we could throw that out last game because obviously Wade didn't score 20-plus points. But a lot of games we kind of felt that, like, well, Wade's got to go off for 25 and Boots has got to go off for 20. But I think what's unique about this team and what's been good about this team is you have Anderson, you have Solomon that can contribute here and there, and Henry Coleman can contribute and things like that. And so I think it's been more of a get it done by committee than we think it has been, to be honest, because, a lot of times when we look at a box score, the first thing we see is the points. But if you're really looking and diving deep into the statistics, you're looking at other things. Buzz is big on the turkeys, and you're looking at Anderson Garcia and the second chance points and the second chance opportunities that he gives to this team. And so as much as we want to say, like, yeah, it's got to be Boots, it's got to be Wade. Yes, they've got to have their their moments and their big games, but those other guys have got to contribute in some big ways.
Yeah, they do. But offensively, you need somebody to get you. Like you're not going to. Am I wrong here? You're not going to win with a bunch of guys scoring 10 and 12 points. You need somebody to bring a bit of the offense in the 18 to 25 range, right?
Yes, 100%. And I think you've been seeing that being traded off. And when we're really good is when both of them can be on at the same time. And so you're 100% right there in that thinking of, hey, one of them's probably got to go off for 22 to 25 points, and that other one's got to be around the 18, 20 range. And then, we're chipping in 10 from Henry and, 8 from Anderson and Solomon's contributing and Jace Carter hits a 3 or 2, And so I just hope, I guess my prayers and wishes are for just us to go on a little bit of a streak these next couple of games where we are able to, let's say we shoot 23s, we're able to knock down 8 or something like that, where we can just have some bit of help from the 3-point line. And I know you're about to cuss me and say, Justin, we don't want to shoot too many threes, but and I'm with you, I'm 100%, but we are going to shoot some. And so I'm just hoping that we can shoot a decent percentage these next couple of games.
Well, if you're hitting them, I'm okay with them. It's just on those games where you're not hitting that, like, I'm just like, all right, guys, let's move on to plan B. Let me give you this. Look, I feel like I'm patting myself on the back this week a lot. And look, he's still got a lot to prove. But I've been asking for more Manny Obaseki. I've been saying the reasons for it. And I feel really smart at the moment because, look, he's not scoring 20, but he's affecting the game. And he brings a different element to the Rock than I think other players. They don't really bring his athleticism when he carries the ball. I shouldn't say carry, but you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, he his ability to get to the basket and score even while a defender's still guarding him pretty well. He can back guys down. Wade doesn't really have that ability. That's not Boots' game. Manny you could get Manny a touch in the high post, and he could essentially back you down and score on a guard. And so that's what I like about his game too, is he can score from multiple areas on the floor, where some of these other guys, they're not one-dimensional. I wouldn't say any of our players are one-dimensional, but you kind of know how they're going to score. Boots is going to get to his left hand. Wade's going to get to his floater. Wade's going to shoot a 3. But Manny, I feel like he's just kind of, you don't know where he's going to score from, and I think that kind of keeps you on your toes as a defense, and so that's what you want. And so the thing with Manny is if he can win kind of the turnover margin, if his assists to turnovers, if he can make sure that he's not turning the ball over at a high rate, then yeah, I feel like you've got to keep him on the floor more. He's long, he's athletic, defensively he gives you some more length at the guard spot, contesting shots, and so yeah, I'm with you. I think there's been at times where I felt like he's dribbled too much.
Yep.
But to be honest, with what our offense is, I mean, what else are we going to go to? And so I think it's not I think he in the rotation, I think he should get some more minutes.
All right, let's close out with this. Do you think this team's going to make the tournament, or are you feeling like, does it all come down to what happens against Mississippi State unless they, just tell me where they are tournament-wise in your thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think you got to obviously take care of the last two. 100% have to. And then I think obviously you got to at least win a game or two, possibly in the conference tournament. But to me too, I think I saw. I can't remember who posted it. I want to give them credit, but I can't remember who posted it. But I was reading, and tonight's game between Florida and Alabama is a big game, because that could potentially put Florida into it would be a quad 1 win for us potentially. And so I think that there's some things like that. And then, like I mentioned early on in the of this call, is just hoping that other teams don't steal something from us when they're not supposed to get into the dance and steal a bid from us. So I think that I'll say this, the thing that's tough is we had it where it was in our control to make the dance. And now I feel like it's kind of being taken out of our control, and some of it's going to be out of our hands.
Justin, appreciate you, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much, David.
Later, man. Justin Lanham there on the hotline. By the way, if you haven't been on the YouTube page, there's like a war. It's a Longhorn fan, the Sandman, and like a bunch of Aggies going at it back and forth. He's using Aggie with a Y, and they're saying Sips. It's just a battle. Guys, can we just get along? I want friends out there. I got my friend coming in studio next. My good friend, Gerrod Chadwell, will be joining us. And I say that because he's my buddy and he's my neighbor. Right now, Troubadour Festival time, a Texas barbecue and music experience. They're back at Aggie Park this year. If you went last year, you know how great it was. Well, they'll be back this year, Saturday, May the 18th. And this year's event is even bigger and better than before. The Troubadour Festival is bringing together 35 of the best barbecue joints in Texas for you to indulge in an unlimited samples for their incredible smoke creations. And you can't forget about the awesome music. Every year, there's going to be great music. There's live country music on 2 stages all day, including this year's headliner, country music icon, that's Travis Tritt. He'll be joined by Texas country legend Pat Green, as well as William Clark Green, the Red Clay Strays, Cameron Sackey Band, and much, much more. Whether you want to experience the barbecue and the concert or just the concert itself, there is a ticket for you. Tickets are on sale now at troubadourfestival.com. That's troubadourfestival.com. Get yours, and we'll see you at Aggie Park. That is on Saturday, May the 18th, Aggie Park. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The A&M women's golf team finished third last week, a week ago today, at the Chevron Collegiate at the Golf Club of Houston. Gerrod Chadwell in studio with us. We're going to start off basketball because this guy just casually name dropped one of his friends. We're just chatting, and he's like, "Yeah, I texted Kelvin Sampson. I love Kelvin Sampson. I do."
He is one of my guys.
People have this perception of him, and if you get to know him, he's not what people think.
No, and I think at Oklahoma when I was there before, I think he might even say the NBA changed him. But he was, when at Houston, he was very much the same way Coach Elko has been. I mean, he is for everybody, and he helped us get things done for the department for everybody. And so, total team player. He's a golfer, and we have those Oklahoma ties. But just I knew that game for him the other night was very tough with Ryan Miner passing, and Toby had passed, and like he had said, both of his kids went to school there, and to see that game and then pull it out, just sent him a text, and he sent a nice text back to Stacy and I. So really rooting hard for him.
I got to cover him for a long time, and I remember his years with the Rockets. It changed my opinion of him, right? Because the way he handled James, the way he handled certain personalities, and then when he started building that basketball program at U of H, and like. He's a dynamic personality. I love to see their success. I don't like them beating A&M ever, but I like them, and because when people have a strong opinion of him, I'm like, I got to see it up close. He's not what some people point out.
And he dug that thing out of the dirt. I mean, I remember the days of him going around with the bullhorn just on campus trying to get people to come to the game, and that was in Old Hofheinz, and they weren't very good. They had a couple good individual talently, but how he built that thing, and we had Coach Bishop, his strength coach, who was phenomenal. Help us out in some things. So I root for him because he's a total team player and what he meant to Stacy and I in our time there.
All right, let's talk about Houston. How was it to go back to your second home?
Yeah.
Is that the way to phrase it? One of your homes, and see all the people you know, and
absolutely,
and the team that do so well. Yeah,
and it was good to see. There's a lot of progress going on there. They're adding on to the building, and just what Lydia and Daniel are continuing to do that program is really good to see. Great to see a lot of old friends, and good to see our young ladies play really good. For 54 holes. Our 36-hole day was very impressive. I think we got to, the mid-20s under par. So it was good to see some things that happened in Florida continue to happen in Houston.
Well, and to be able to do well on day one had to be very important, set a tone.
Yeah, it was 80 some odd degrees. Golf course was in the best shape I'd ever seen it. Greens were really fast, and we got off to a pretty good start, and I think we played better in the afternoon, which I think is really hard to do on a 36-hole today, which we haven't had one in quite some time. But I think that's a testament to our performance team, Bo Sandoval and our group in the gym, Aaron, our trainer, to get the girls ready to go, and then Ryan, sports psychologist, and Brian, our nutritionist. I mean, that's our sports performance team is the best collective group I've ever been around in all my years of coaching. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention them, because that 36-hole day is a gut test. And so physically we handled it really well, and we were ready to go. On the second day, just didn't quite play as well as we needed to win.
Well, excuse me for bringing up a topic we went over a couple weeks ago, but I feel like you've raised the standards so high that you finished third, and you're like, we got a lot of better golf still ahead of us. And like, that's where this program is.
And it's hard, it's hard there when you're in the moment, you're disappointed. And with young ladies, you're trying to point out some things that we need to do to get better. But we were better than the last time we went out. So it is hard. That's a tournament we shouldn't have lost, if you ask me, but we did. We got outplayed, and that's okay. It's still just now turning March, but you kind of got to ride that fine line of encouragement, not scolding, but yet pointing out some things. We didn't finish well on the first night, and maybe that carried over into a slow start the second day, and then we got it going. But you can't. SMU's a good team, and you can't spot them that much cushion and still try and get the job done.
Let's go through some of the names. Kata, how about that?
Kata played well. I think that was, it was encouraging to finally see her get a really good 54-hole tournament under her belt.
How old is she?
And she's still just a pup. She's a freshman.
17, 18.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And, I think we had a good moment when she got back. Wasn't with me, but I think she got a lot of stuff off her chest of just carrying her own expectations around, which is very hard for her. And to try to be the number 2 player in the world every day is very, very hard. And I think she had a moment where she gave herself some grace and got some stuff off her chest. So I'm really excited for her going forward. But had a great 54 holes.
And I believe Adela, they both tied for 13th, right?
Yeah, Adela had the overnight lead, I believe, and didn't play well the second day. Still getting comfortable, I think, in that moment. Putter let her down. But, one thing that nobody sees is when we pulled in to the parking lot from driving back, I think we got in like at 4 o'clock and everybody had kind of gone home. She put her suitcase down, golf bag down, and putted for an hour and a half. And I think that's truly what is one of the things that makes her great. Yeah. And that's one of the things that nobody will ever see, nobody will talk about. But for her, she had to get it out of her system before she could go home and be ready the next day. So I'm not saying everybody has to do that. That's what she did, and I just really appreciate that. It makes me I don't worry about her, and I don't worry about things when you see that stuff happening.
Everybody's got their own process to get to where they need to be.
For sure, and that's just her. And I was talking to Stacy about it, and she was like, "That was me." She's like, "I didn't handle losing very well." When she started out at Arkansas, maybe wasn't the best of teams, and they got better throughout that time. But she's like, that's what I had to do to be able to go home and sleep. I had to get it out of my system if I coughed up a lead or didn't close the deal. And so it was just a really cool moment that I had with her on the putting green, and just told her, this is why I don't worry about you at all.
Gerrod, how about Zoe? The way she finished, was it 3 under 69?
Yep. Yeah, I had for somebody who hasn't played probably up to her standard this spring and got off to a slow start. To get back in the lineup, and a cool moment in that was I called everybody and told them what we were going to do, and they were like, that's absolutely the right move. Sometimes it's harder telling young ladies that they're not going than it is, it's easier telling them that they are going. But to see everybody have that vote of confidence for Zoe to go back and play well in Houston, where she had won last year, had a lot of people out watching her, that could have gone either way. But she played really, really well for 54 holes. So I'm excited for her going through and kind of seeing the old Zoe again.
All right, so you got a couple weeks off, or maybe another week off, right?
Yeah. It's crazy that spring break is here.
Yeah.
We were just talking in the lobby, like, gosh, next week is spring break. It's been good. We'll be home for like 2 weeks, which we haven't had 2 weeks of being home maybe since right before we started the season. So the weather's been good. We've had a lot of great practices, qualifying to determine the lineup that goes to Tucson. We'll leave on Tuesday. We're actually going to go play Greyhawk where the national tournament has been. Yeah. So get some good vibes going before we head down to Tucson and hopefully continue to where we left off in Houston.
Well, I know it's a bit away. May, Brian, the regional, right?
Yeah, May 6 through 8. Aggies, we need y'all to come out.
Come on,
12th man. I know we could use some volunteers. The golf course is really starting to get in shape with the overnights and the highs and the 80s. So, I would love for everybody to be out there and support the young ladies and make their presence felt here in Aggie land. It's a big thing. It's what we have to do. We have to finish top 5 to go to the national championship, and so it would be awesome to see 12th man show up.
Anything TexAgs can do, we'll be there for you. And by the way, we had a little chat. I don't know if he wants me to throw this out there, but this guy's biking.
Oh my gosh,
dude, I know the roads you bike on. Yeah. I'm just telling you as your friend, be careful, please.
Well, I got to get rid of this dad bod somehow. And that's either it's windshield time or road time. It's what's my therapy. So if you see a little flashing red light in the neighborhood, please just pull over to the side.
Well, I'm trying to get him into doing a triathlon.
No
summer,
chance.
But
you'll
be busy.
You could put a basketball in front of me, and that'd be the best way I could go. However many miles we got to go. Well, if it's running, it has to involve something in front of me, because me just to pound the pavement, no chance.
I say we go hoop. A friendly day of hoop.
Why don't we get a men's league started? Just
with people that are very average to below average. Not a men's league with like people dunking on us, like the 5'6" to 5'10" range, where I'd be considered a beast.
Average Joe's men's league.
Yes, I'm in.
All right,
I'm in. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate
you.
Yep.
Thank you so much. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Farmer Fight Night. That's coming up here soon. Right now, caller number 1, we're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Land Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. We'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Land Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So we've got Farmers Fight Night coming up here is it in April?
April 4th, that's right.
April 4th. We got Chase Johnson in the house and Calvin Furley to talk about it. All right, gentlemen, let me know how this all came together because we have a mutual friend, Carl Perry, who's helping out. Carl's a trainer in Bryan. He's awesome, and he's been in MMA. He's done boxing. He's done it all. He's been on the show, actually. Tell me how this all kind of came together.
Yeah, for sure. So I was in the Corps my senior year. I'm a super senior now, if you will. When I got picked for leadership going into my senior year, we sat down and said, hey, what's something we can do, bring a bunch of people together and have a good time? So we said, let's put a boxing ring, middle of the quad, and just let guys sign a liability waiver and have at it. Great idea. Not really.
Yeah.
So we turned around and we said, okay, let's have someone actually plan this out right. So a buddy of ours, Nate Molk, he sat down and he got with USA Boxing, he got with BCS Boxing, put all the different pieces together. And this year I sat down and said, let's get this rolling. We've got everything in place. We're going to be in Reed Arena on April 4th. We've got USA Boxing coming to sanction it. All of our fighters have been training with Carl at BCS Boxing, so it's been a great event to put together like that.
So who can sign up? Is it just Corps or anybody can sign up?
Anybody can sign up.
And is it too late to sign up as a...
So for this year, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So right now we're in final stages. Our phase 3, as we're calling it, getting ready for the fight night. All of our boxers are cutting weight. Calvin was a huge piece of that. All those types of things are going to play. But next year, we're wide open. If you're a student at Texas A&M and you want to fight in a huge arena that can fit 13,000 people, that door is wide open. And we're going to have a lot of information coming out about that soon.
How'd you get involved?
Well, me and my best friend started boxing at Bryan Boxing, and then I was in the Corps up until last year. And so I had a lot of buddies that were involved in Farmers Fight Night, and then I just heard about it, and then me and my friend signed up just to kind of have a goal for our boxing training. And yeah, just kind of went from there.
Yeah, and do you? So you were telling me that you just got into boxing, not necessarily recently, but took it serious recently, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I never boxed in a gym before 8 months ago, and then it was kind of just a funny happenstance. Me and my friend had been boxing for about a month, and then we heard about Farmers Fight Night and just kind of saw that as a perfect end goal for our training, or I guess end goal.
Yeah. Do you know who you're fighting?
Well, I actually got a concussion, and that's one of a few concussions, so I don't think I'll be fighting.
Okay.
Preservation for my health.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So how do you guys determine who's fighting who? Is it? I mean, would that be determined leading up to the fight, or you already have an idea? This guy's 140, he can fight this 140.
Oh yeah. So we at the beginning of this semester, we lined up 4 guys apiece, or 4 guys and gals apiece, and said, hey, you got to hit this weight class, and you're fighting in that weight class. And then about 2 weeks ago, we had an event over in Aggie Park where we released matchups, so everyone knows who they're fighting, and we're still pushing some of that information out. But we've got matchups set, and everyone's rocking and getting into the real tight-knit weight class that they can fight in.
Tell us where the proceeds are going to go.
Yeah, so all of our proceeds for the event are going to go to the United Way of Brazos Valley. When we built this idea of the charity student boxing event, we were trying to find a good way to make a huge impact. And originally we had looked at some larger charities, but ultimately we said, why don't we do something in the local community? It's always known that Aggies are so generous with the way they donate, and a lot of that money comes into Texas A&M University proper, but it doesn't always see the local community. So we said, let's go after somebody who can make a huge impact in the local community, and United Way of Brazos Valley was that answer.
This is not the same as the other fight night that happens, the Sigma Chi one.
No,
right?
this is completely separate.
These are different. Is there any major differences other than it's a different night and whatnot? Do you guys have a different philosophy, or it's kind of the same idea?
It's a similar idea in some respect, but we're a recognized student organization in our own right, separate from the fraternity council or anything to that order. So we're doing everything completely on our own with the support of General Ramirez in his office.
Did this make you get interested into boxing to maybe try it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've sat here and told some of my buddies, like, I'm going to do this for this year and maybe next year, and then I might fight the year after. So we're looking at what that might do.
But only students can fight, right? Like,
yes.
Not an old man like myself, right?
Unfortunately. If you want to get out there, you might be able to throw some punches, but you're not going to be able to fight.
Nah, I get paid to be on TV. I'm not going to do that. So tell people like how they can buy tickets, how they can get involved, and whatnot.
Absolutely. So we've got 3 short URLs to get to, but the main one is tx.ag/FFN tickets. That link will take you right to our ticket page on the 12th Man Foundation. You can go to 12th Man Foundation's website and purchase tickets directly from there. Right now, we're running a group discount. If you got 10 people or more, email tamuffn@gmail.com, and we'll give you a 10% discount. All of those types of things are available.
What kind of I'm sure it's hard to guess, but do you know what kind of, like, how How many people are coming? Like, do you think it's going to be a pretty big event?
We are super excited about what it could be.
Uh-huh.
We don't know exactly. I mean, tickets just started last week, so this is a brand new thing to us. We have no data to back what we're doing, but everyone we talk to is like, why haven't I heard of it sooner? Right? So it's just a matter of time before we're expecting 8,000 to 10,000 people showing up.
Wow, that'd be great.
Yeah, like I said, I've got 13,000 seats to fill. So if you've got something if you don't have anything else going on a Thursday night, April 4th, 2024, Reed Arena, 6 p.m. That's where you got to be.
Calvin, have you made some friends because of this? Like people that you probably would have not crossed, but because you're both all into boxing and in this lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely, sir. Yeah. I made new friends at Bryan Boxing before Farmers Fight Night, and then as Farmers Fight Night, guys started coming into the gym every single day for the last 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
I've made friends that I absolutely would not have made otherwise, and trained with guys that I would not have met.
Let me ask you this, because I've recently gotten into some of this stuff. Do you feel humbled when you go into the gym, or did you feel like, I'll be fine? Like, because I feel like all of us have a little bit of like man thing where like, I'll be fine. And then you realize, I'm not that fine.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I started boxing to kind of round myself out as a person, because I had thought like, if I get into some kind of situation, I'll be okay. And then the second I started boxing, I realized just how much goes into boxing and how little details matter so much. It was an intensely humbling experience, especially sparring for the first time.
Chase, remind the folks how they can get involved.
Absolutely. So we've got an Instagram and a TikTok page. You can find us at Farmers Fight Night. You can also find us looking for our tickets at tx.ag/FFNTAMU/TAMUFFN/FFN tickets. I try to do every single possible combination there. So
You got it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you. All right, when we come back, Luke Evangelist at the News and Social Center, Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We'll get into that and much, much more. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hey, Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We just had the Farmers Fight Night guys here. Got me thinking. Honestly, TexAgs should be involved. And I don't know, maybe you versus Jackson for like one of the...
Are you trying to get me killed?
Okay, choose somebody else. You versus Richard. He's not a student, though. I need a student.
I would say I would fight Dawson. I would fight maybe Cade Bickham.
Cade would destroy you.
Yeah, he probably would.
He would destroy you.
Okay, I would take Dawson. Sorry.
Because
Dawson.
we could actually make this happen is my point. It's only a month away. You could train for a month as you're getting ready for the Gladiator Dash. Why not?
Wait. Okay, hold on. I think I just figured it out. We've got the cards. We've got Jackson versus Alex. We've got Eric versus...
Alex dies. That's it, like death. Okay.
Me versus Cade would be like middleweight. And then... Eric versus Matthew Dawson for flyweight.
Ooh, I think Dawson wins that one. Eric, I'm sorry. I know you're a college athlete, but I feel
Dawson's feisty.
I feel like Dawson will bite your ankles, like Dan Campbell style, right? Like,
yeah, he totally would. He's cut from just a different cloth. He's that northern cloth, that Chicago cloth. He would definitely bite a kneecap, bite an ankle for sure.
And then if we extended this tournament, which I love doing this every 3 months on the show, Nick versus Richard Zane.
Yeah. Oh, that would be real entertaining.
Nick wins that one, I think.
You're going to get a text from Richard in about 30 seconds.
I love Richard, but I think Nick is a warrior.
Yeah.
I'll give him props. And then Bronny versus Howell for the recruiting title.
Yeah. Hop versus OB.
OB destroys him. And Hop's going to be on the show in a little bit.
Oh, boy.
There's no doubt in my mind.
And then it
OB
comes down to
one.
the obvious. Is it a three-way fight between you, Billy, and Bronny? Or...
I mean, I'd probably lose that. Like
probably
if Bronny connects. Now, my only chance would be a really big ring, get him tired. Like, but if Bronny connects, it's over. And Billy too. If they connect, now if it's MMA, like all things go, they both die.
Alex just texted me. He said, "Don't put me against Jackson. That's not fair." He said, "Me versus you." Alex would kill me. I think there's
He's
just
got
like
one leg. You'd be fine.
Oh, I forgot. If I'm fighting an injured Alex, maybe I could take him.
Yeah.
It would probably be a really unethical, just like kick to the knee.
Hey, there's, I had that whole segment earlier where I was telling you guys that I've become like a fake prepper. And now I've got more reason to believe it's happening. All right. What happened in the world of social media?
Within the last 20 minutes, Instagram has completely gone down. I was trying to get on it.
Facebook too, by the way.
Oh, actually, wow.
Yep.
Okay, so I was trying to get on Instagram and nothing was loading. And now, of course, Twitter being the only one that's up. Everything that's trending is Instagram, hacked, Facebook, Instagram, what's going on? Everyone's freaking out. So, I just find it a little bit weird that a week ago today, a bunch of people lost cell service. And then now, a week later, it's Super Tuesday, and people can't get on the two most used social media apps. I don't know what's going on.
I know what's happening. All right, because I've been down this rabbit hole on YouTube recently, and it's got me really scared, okay? Like, you seen the movie Red Dawn?
Yes, I've seen the old one and the new one.
All right, the old one was way better.
Yes, I can agree with you on that.
But, I'm just saying, just be prepared, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just saying, be prepared.
Just
I don't want it to be a warning. I hope it's just a mistake, right? But if it's a warning shot from somebody, I'm a little worried.
Just know that if you are unprepared, the Buchanan household, we just learned today, has an entire closet stockpiled and ready. So we don't know his address, but if you do know OB, just shelter in place with him.
Let me tell you what my move would be. I'd move into TexAgs with my family. All the snacks up there.
Oh, are you kidding me? We would be set.
There's
Absolutely.
a shower here. It'd be great. There's everything you need here at TexAgs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some people spend the night here, I've heard.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Where do they sleep?
On the carpet.
Why? Because they party too late? Or
look, I'm not in that group. I've just heard fables and tales of it.
There's a camera. We can see everything happening.
Yeah.
All right. You got some other news for us?
Yeah. I have some actual serious news now. Quentin Jackson was signed to a two-way contract with the Indiana Pacers after averaging 16 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds for the Windy City Bulls. That's the Bulls G League team this season. So if you're familiar with how a two-way contract works, he can be playing for the G League and the NBA team. He previously had one of those with the Wizards and was called up late last season and got to play pretty significant minutes for them. So hoping he gets to make that same impact for the Pacers. I know they play the Mavs coming up pretty soon, so maybe we'll see him then. But yeah, overall, very exciting for Quentin Jackson, someone who deserves it completely. One of my favorite Texas A&M basketball players to watch, and we wish him nothing but the best.
By the way, this is on the heels. I think 2 weeks ago, Dexter Dennis was traded to the Cleveland franchise.
Yes, he was. So a lot of Aggies on the move, but if you really think about it, Cleveland and Indiana both have they're pretty lacking in depth. So those are opportunities for both Dexter and
But Cleveland's
Quentin
having a really good year, right?
Yeah. They've been a lot better as of late.
Second or third place, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And so both of them, I think, will have good opportunities to maybe get called up.
Yeah, well, I just know this. Both those dudes, they've made the most of their opportunities when they've gotten a chance. Yeah. So that's great. What else do you have for us?
I've got a text from Rob from Dudley's Draw who wants Dante Hall, the X Factor.
Oh, yeah.
He would love to hear him on an interview on
That's
TexAgs.
what he meant. I couldn't understand the first text. I was like, X Factor, what? Like, I thought it was like he was talking about the TV show. Of course, Dante Hall. He's very difficult to get in touch with. So, but yeah, we'll work on getting Dante. I actually thought about that before the Super Bowl and after. So I'll reach out to young Dante, and he's probably my age, so he's not that young, but still super fast. Anything else?
Yeah, Sutton in College Station says, David, your interview with Bronny and Schloss was amazing. You and Bronny ham and egg it so well on those interviews with Schloss, and the insight we gained from those interviews into the baseball program is super exciting and super revealing.
Well, I appreciate that. That is 100% Bronny. Look, I know my place when it comes to baseball. I see what the casual fan sees, and I try to ask questions like that. But the way Bronny can look at a game, extrapolate information, and ask real baseball questions, it's fantastic. So, yeah. And by the way, you just ask Schloss questions, and he gives you great answers, right? It's not like it has to go viral, but it could go viral every time you talk to him. And the things that he says are just, well, how would I phrase it, Luke? They're just not only what the fan wants to hear, but also the truth. Like, it's not colored in a certain way. This is how I feel, and then the fan base galvanizes behind it.
Yep, I completely agree. He's just so real every time he speaks.
When keeping it real goes great. Coming up next, Tom Hart. I don't know what game he has, but I do know he's had his eye on the Aggies. We'll talk about that, the Super League being discussed, that and much, much more. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, it's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. We're joined by SEC Network, ESPN. Great. Tom Hart here on the program. Tom, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How are we doing today, David?
Good, man. What city are you in? What game are you doing?
I'm in Gainesville, Florida. Got Alabama on the practice court right now, and I'm just doing some laps around the arena, hanging out, getting ready for Bama, Florida tonight, and then Tennessee at South Carolina tomorrow night.
There's a couple of teams I could say this about, but I feel like Florida's having the year that I thought A&M would have. Is that fair?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think that's completely fair. It shows the depth of this league, and I think the other comp to make
South Carolina,
and this applies. South Carolina's having a year that A&M would have liked to have had, especially for a team that was picked dead last in the league. It's not just talent, right? It's who you play and when you play them, and can you create your own breaks? And I think both Florida and South Carolina have done that this season.
Talking to Tom Hart here on TexAgs Radio. So, Tom, A&M obviously getting back to winning at least one game. They look pretty good against Georgia. When you see them, do you think this kind of win, and I don't know how much of the highlights you were able to watch, but can this ignite them?
Well, I was watching A&M baseball hit grand slams off of overmatched and overly confident Arizona State pitchers, but I guess that's another story. Yeah, and it's such a game of momentum, right? I mean, from game to game and even within games, I've seen more momentum swings, I think, in college basketball this year than I can remember, and I think a lot of that is due to not a get off my lawn, blame the portal for everything kind of guy, but knowing your team, knowing who plays well together, and getting to know how new players play well or don't play well with each other. And I think that's a big part of it. We were just sitting around talking before Alabama walked in, and it was like, okay, who in the bottom half of the bracket in Nashville in a week can do some damage? And A&M was one of the first names that came up. I mean, Arkansas is a wildly talented team. They can beat a lot of people. They just haven't this year. A&M is incredibly talented and plays with a style that gives them an opportunity. So, we saw the kind of run that Buzz's teams have gone on in the past in the tournament. I just do feel like you need a springboard going in, right? You need some positive momentum and good feelings to try and put that together. I just don't think it comes out of the ether and all of a sudden you're playing great basketball.
100% agree. So then this next question, there is no ether here. Recently, Wade Taylor has been averaging 10.25 points a game. We know the player he can be. He might be drained from all carrying the load most of the season. Can this team win these next couple of games with Wade Taylor giving you 10.5 points a game?
Well, you were right a moment ago. I haven't watched a whole lot of that film lately. How and why is he averaging 10 a game? Like, what have you seen the last couple?
Well, a couple things. I see him to be tired, right? Like he just seems not as aggressive physically that we've seen in the past. And also, I think defenses know, let's send 2 or 3 guys at this dude. Let the other guys beat us. And recently, they haven't been able to beat him.
Yeah, the book is out on everybody, and it's theoretically you're easier to defend now than you were, a couple of weeks ago because tendencies are real, and with the amount of, I'm constantly amazed the amount of advanced video and analytic work that goes into your average college basketball game. They can tell you how many times Wade Taylor has finished at the rim with his left hand and with his right hand. They can tell you what his percentage is for both. They know which way they want to force it. Same with boots. And I guess in retrospect, if it's an exhaustion situation, you can point back to the middle of the season and say, hey, listen, what they're doing offensively is not going to last. Like, this isn't practical to have such a load on one guy, the best scorer, and the other guy, the second best scorer, and everybody else is finding offensive rebounds. I think that's fair in hindsight to point that out. But at the time, when things were really cooking, it was like, well, how are you going to stop them? Because even even their misses turn into buckets, which is what made A&M so intriguing and so different than the rest of the teams they played. So maybe there's this end of season kick in where he goes, all right, this is it. Time to pull a Randolph Childress. For those that don't know, in the ACC tournament, when Randolph was a senior, he averaged like 35 a game and led Wake Forest to these incredible wins and set a scoring record. Like, conference tournaments are made for stars to carry their teams. They're made for a guy to get hot and to absolutely take over games, whether that's going to be Wade Taylor or Dalton Connect or Mark Sears. We won't know until we get to the Saturday in Nashville.
You mentioned Dalton Connect there. You were at a game recently where he did get hot when they needed him most. How about that performance against, I think it was Auburn this weekend?
Yeah, it was against Auburn, and he just took over the game late. He outscored Auburn on his own in the last 12 minutes of that game. I'd heard this mentioned, so I haven't put pencil to paper yet, but I think 4 of the top 5 scorers in this league, and you could probably expand this to college basketball and see where it takes you as a whole, but just focusing on the SEC, 4 of the top 5 were overlooked as recruits or mid-major recruits. Connect went to junior college in northern Colorado. Mark Sears was at Ohio. Antonio Reeves of Kentucky started at Illinois State before coming to Kentucky. These are the type of moves that just weren't possible yes, they were possible, but if you were a great scorer in the MAC or in the Summit or the Big Sky or whatever it is, you probably were just going to stay there instead of having to sit out a year, because what was the value? And now that you don't have to sit out, you can come do what you do. And I think it's fascinating to see the impact that those players have been able to have. Connect went from, like I said, basically unrecruited and a JUCO guy to now being Conference Player of the Year likely, All-American likely, and a first-round pick, which is it's just amazing. I mean, he worked for it, but he's got a lottery ticket, and he's getting ready to cash that thing in come the draft this summer.
Story time, Tom. Dalton reminded me before the interview to ask you about that time. You had to do the A&M Texas baseball game broadcast, and you found out about an hour before. Yeah. We were, we it's often that these discussions turn to well, how did we survive the COVID era? Dave Neal was supposed to call that game, and he was having trouble. He was doing the game from home, and he was having trouble with the equipment for some reason. Now, probably because Dave had it set up at some fancy golf course, and he tried doing it from like Butler Cabin or something, whereas I'm just down in my bunker in my basement. But I got a phone call like an hour and a half before, and they said, "Hey, are you home?" I said, "Well, I can be. I'm just down the road." They go, "Well, you might be doing Texas A&M tonight." And if I'm not mistaken, it turned into, as they always do, a walk-off winner for A&M. Yep.
Like it was an incredible game. But luckily, I knew the A&M program well. I had Texas, I think, the year before in the postseason, and I had all sorts of Aggie Garrido stories in my back pocket, including the fact that he was well aware, whether this was your all's or somebody else's, that on the Aggie message boards they used to call him Soggy Burrito, and he thought that was the funniest stuff ever. He's like, "Can you believe these people call me Soggy Burrito?" He's like, "Isn't that great? Isn't that what college sports are about? Like rivals and talking trash about each other and competing and then shaking hands afterwards." I go, "You're not mad or embarrassed?" So you look down. He goes, "No." He's like, "I think that's hilarious. I think it's great." He goes, "I love a good burrito. If they want to call me Soggy Burrito, by all means, let's roll with it."
Tom, I started the show with this thought because I really think it's the truth, but it's also just a cop-out at the same time. Like, I feel like this game tonight is going to, for the team that wins, it matters. For the team that loses, it's just a midweek game. Although, in my heart, I do think it matters more for Texas, only because of the weekend they just had. Not saying that, both were very proud programs. They're going to be Texas is going to be fine. But just because they lost 3 straight, it probably means a lot more. But at the end of the day, like, what matters is Omaha.
That's 100% true. And what we've learned is that you don't have to be an elite program all season long. You can put it together and find your rhythm. But there is a pressure at both of those programs. There is a pressure to win, and that pressure doesn't wait until the postseason. That pressure begins when you lose 3 in a row. And that pressure begins when, the AD starts getting emails or phone calls, or somebody saddles up to him at a game and says, why are we losing 3 in a row? We better not lose to A&M. And I think, and that is real, and that is pressure that may not be felt by the players themselves, but certainly by coaching staffs. And so I think that's something to keep an eye on going forward. The opportunity to get great competition at a high level where your juices really go, like you really dialed in, as opposed to, with all due respect, Texas State on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night. And I still don't have a good feel. David, you got to tell me, what were the Arizona State pitchers doing the day before? Because I saw Lucci's tweet after the Grand Slam, and I was like, okay, this intrigues me.
Well, so Braden Montgomery hits a home run against them on Friday night, and then the next 2 times he gets beamed, and Schloss had his back. And yesterday he was on the show, and he was fantastic as typical Schloss. There's a couple things at play here. Braden Montgomery obviously played in the Pac-12, and there's a history there. Also, A&M keeps taking their players and their recruits. Gavin Grovick was going to go there. Jack Moss was obviously there. Michael Early was there, the hitting coach. So they continue to take. Hunter Haas was there. Like, there's a lot of – so I think there's a little bit of hostility towards A&M. And, after Braden's home run, they let us know about it. And then he let them know with his Grand Slam on Sunday.
Familiarity breeds contempt. It is amazing, not just that series, but overall the Pac-12 didn't have a great weekend. They used to be the power in college baseball. That's the first place you would look out west. What is Rod Dato at USC doing? And even the West Coast as a whole, Big West teams, Irvine, Fullerton, all of these incredible historical college baseball programs. And now, because of the market, really, I think it started with the ability to play on TV every day, and I got a great Schloss story regarding that. But then the market has dictated that players are drawn to the SEC. And so I'm sorry, but A, your conference is falling apart. B, nobody can watch your games. And, you can have a better experience that gets you ready for the big leagues in the SEC. I remember when Schloss was at TCU, we had a series over there, and a couple of us went over to his house, which was right next to the baseball stadium, after the game. Come on over, hang out in the backyard. We're going to watch games, have a beer, whatever. And he had the SEC network on. He's at TCU. And he knew everybody on the network. He knew the entire studio show. He's like, oh, yeah, Dari already did the Ole Miss highlights. He's going to do this. And I was like, hold up. You watch the SEC network? And he goes, bro, every night. He goes, first of all, this is where I get college baseball coverage better than anywhere else. And secondly, they cover every single game. And I think that's a draw to people. The ACC network exists now, and a lot of games are on Plus or on digital, whatever. But when that thing launched 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was a different animal in terms of bringing exposure to sports like baseball, softball, gymnastics that hadn't had it before, and it really put the conference as a whole on a pedestal where people looked at it and said, that's big time, I want to go there. So you understand why the Arizona State people are mad. It's like, what was the line from Animal House? Like, do you mind if we dance with your dates? Like, no, we're dancing with all y'all's dates, and we're taking your dates.
Well said, Tom. Hey, have you been on Instagram in the last hour?
No. Should I?
You might have been hacked. No, I'm kidding. You weren't hacked. But sorry, I don't want to scare you. Instagram's down, Facebook's down, and I don't know, man. A week ago, AT&T was down, Verizon was down. I'm a little worried about the state of our country.
Good Lord, are we going to have to talk to each other?
Yeah.
What is this coming to?
We're going to have to be face to face. There's going to be no FaceTime. We'll have to use analog phones.
That is scary. The amount of traveling I do, it is amazing. how often people bump into each other at airport concourses because they're just looking down at their phones. And I'm sure it's the same, wherever large gatherings are, right? You're walking through campus and people don't have their head up and say hi or good morning or anything. They're dialed into whatever's coming across that iPhone. And I'm just guilty as anybody.
Well, I am too, Tom, and this is the interesting part. Like, I'm guilty of it, like at a stoplight, I'm looking at my phone. Why? What news am I going to get over the next 4 seconds that matters? But I still think my kids are 100 times worse than I am, and I think I'm bad. Like, that's just where we are as a generation, or as a people.
It's a scary trend. The reliance on all of this stuff. I was drove by a restaurant last night and it said no cash accepted, only cards. Ooh. And it was a nice restaurant. And I wanted to ask them, hold on a second. There's something that's on this bill that says legal tender. Like, aren't you required to take my payment via cash if I have it? But are you a conspiracy theorist? You think there's a electronical, technological reckoning coming for everybody?
Buddy, I have been down these, and I said it earlier in the show, so I've been down these rabbit holes on YouTube recently, and I don't know how it ended up on my algorithm. Yeah, I'm stockpiling, buddy. I'm a little worried. I hope I'm just worried to be worried. But it's just interesting. The balloon twice in the last year.
Here's the scariest. Yeah, here's the scariest part. There's plenty of people listening right now that are like, you know what? If everything went away, I'd be fine. I can hunt. I can fish. I can farm. I could feed my family. Radio and television announcers, we're screwed, pal.
Done.
Nobody's going to give us a bushel of corn for describing, what it looks like to husk it. We're going to starve.
Dude, I promise you, I've been thinking that the last few months, and then now this stuff is happening. I'm like, what would I do? Like, I don't know how to get food. I go to H-E-B. Like, what do I do? Like, I got to learn these things. I'm running out of time, Tom.
There's no money to be made. You can't sell your old Pearl Jam CDs to make money because CD players aren't going to work. What are you going to do?
Hey, let's end on an actual football note. Did you see Trent Dilfer was on with Cole and Greg, and he said he thinks a Super League's about 18 months away. I think that's a little bit too fast, but, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think if you're an administrator right now, you better make sure that you are, with all due respect to every other sport, and Title IX and everything, you better be fully invested in football. And you better be prepared to win. If you're not, and one bad season could be the demarcation point between being in or out, you're done. You're done. Your entire athletic department is going to be restructured, and you're going to look more like a, Division III athletic department as opposed to what we know of as Division I. I don't have a good feel for the timeline. I know where the trend is going. I'm worried about the future of the sports in terms of everybody fighting for a dollar, and we deserve this, and we demand that, with it seems to be very little foresight into how it impacts holistically whatever sport or structure is in place right now. Like, for example, I understand that the SEC and the Big Ten believe that they deserve automatic bids to an expanded playoff. But you don't have to have it. You just want it. And you just want to get your clause in there to demand it. Is that what's good for the sport as a whole?
Nope.
Would it be better for college football if we only had 40 teams or 60 teams? I mean, I hate the non-conference Sun Belt matchups. I don't think that's much fun. But I think there's room in the college sports landscape for Northwestern and Syracuse and Wake Forest and Oregon State and Washington State, and I think that's what makes the sport special. The NFL is invite only, and that's great, but it's one of one. To be more inclusive, I think, leads to more stability as a whole and more interest. People love watching games at Lambeau Field in the snow. That's really cool. And Kansas City and Arrowhead is really neat. And you can pick and choose any other superpowers, whether it's the Cowboys or whomever else. those are national draws. Even a popular program like USC is not a national draw. People living in Pocatello, Idaho, do not care that much to watch a USC Indiana game. So you need to continue to appeal, in my opinion, to all 50 states and to localize and regionalize that interest that then is allowed to grow and manifest into better television ratings at the very top. But by narrowing it down and just cutting off 2/3 of your sport, I just don't see how that makes logical sense in the long term.
Tom, great stuff, brother. Appreciate your time. Talk to you next week.
I'm sorry you're worried about the future. Just unplug your computer and go for a walk, okay? And then learn how to fish so you can feed your family.
Dude, I'm convinced that they can see what I'm doing at the house. Like, you better leave your phone and your computer closed and your phone out of the bathroom. I'm just saying. People are seeing.
Listen, when those algorithms kick back
I
up
lost
and they
Tom
go back
because my
online,
headphones came out. Tom, I apologize. I'm sure you had a very good comeback. I'll talk to you next time. Tom Hart there on the hotline. Sorry. I don't know why my headphone popped off. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. When we come back, Luke's going to go around the SEC for us. This time of the year, guys, it's time to enjoy life. Stop letting your pain and your joints keep you from doing what you love to do, especially when it's great weather out there. Like here in College Station, it was like 80-something yesterday. It was fantastic. It's great out there right now. Call QC Kinetics right now, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I'm talking lasting joint pain relief with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. QC Kinetics is literally transforming lives. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. Think about it. Pro athletes have been doing this for a while, right? And they come back from injury quickly and they feel much better about it. They've been doing it for decades. This is a life-changing treatment that is available for all folks out there. You can go walk, you can go run, you can climb stairs, you can play golf, you can move again, and it'll be pain-free. QC Kinetics has got tens of thousands of satisfied patients who reclaim their mobility. So take action now. Live your best life this spring, this summer, this year. Make sure it is a great year and it's a great use of your tax refund check, by the way. Call them up, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. We are back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by who? Luke Evangelist. Tell the people who we're presented by.
David Gardner's Jewelers.
Yeah, why'd you say so quiet?
I don't know.
You
trying
weren't
to do a
100%
voice.
sure?
I was trying to do a voice. No, I'm 100% sure. I've been here long enough to know.
Okay, and you know what? I do this sometimes. What studio are we at?
The Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yeah. And what center are you at?
The Angry Elephant News and Social Center.
And where will I be on Saturday?
The Angry Elephant in Magnolia.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Good times. All right, what do you got for us there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
I've got a lot. You know, we call it around the SEC, but I think after we get to around the SEC, we got to go around College Station because there's a lot going on, and that's been going on that I didn't get to cover in my initial hit. But I will start with SEC baseball. It was a pretty big week for the SEC. Some of the main highlights: number 2, LSU going undefeated at the Astros Foundation Classic. That was a 6-3 win over Texas, which we all remember. Texas notably went 0-3 on that weekend, but they're not in the SEC yet. So I want to touch on the other SEC team that was there. That was Vanderbilt, who also went 3-0. That included a 14-11 win over Texas, where Texas had an 11-3 lead, and Vanderbilt came all the way back to win. The other notable game for the SEC was number 16 Alabama taking down number 20 Indiana 12-0. So a very good week for SEC baseball.
Yeah, very good week. Any other storylines to get into?
Nothing really from the SEC. The big news being Arch Manning deciding that he was too good to be in the game. And there were some funny comments on the YouTube. Somebody said that the Manning family saw that 71 overall and said, no, we're good, and told him not to play. I don't know the real reason why he chose not to join, but that was kind of the big storyline this morning out of the SEC.
Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I know as a talk show host, I'm supposed to have like these hard sports takes. I don't care. Like if he doesn't want, he's got like, you do leave it up for interpretation, right? When you don't do it, and you make a comment like he did, which was, I want to focus on football. You leave it for us to analyze, but like whatever. If he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it. I, being a terrible athlete, would be honored to be in it, right? And not have the millions of dollars that the Mannings have. I'd be honored to be on the video game. But can't you make players?
Yeah, you can.
There was somebody had reported that you may not be able to make these players, but just call him Arch or Archie, or make somebody like him.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that. I just think it's just, everyone's opting in. You've waited 10 years for this game because players were not getting paid, and now you get it served up on a golden platter to be in the game, and you choose not to. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to miss him being in the game. Like, he was a backup, so if you're going to play with Texas, you would be playing with Quinn Ewers anyways, so it's really not that important. But what is important, and something that everybody should be looking out for, is the SEC tournament for women's basketball, which is starting tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
Starts tomorrow.
Tomorrow, sorry.
But Texas A&M has a first-round bye, so they earned that bye by getting the 8 seed. They're the 9 seed. They're playing the 8 seed Thursday in Greenville, South Carolina, against Mississippi State at 11 a.m. I will be covering that game, so look out for my Twitter fingers and message board fingers covering and updating that game. The Bulldogs took the first matchup of the season, winning 74-63 at Reed Arena. But if Texas A&M is able to get that win, they would then play number 1 South Carolina on Friday, which would be an incredibly tough game. If you remember last year, Joni Taylor won 2 SEC tournament games. They did not get a first-round bye, so they were the first double-digit seed to make the quarterfinals after not getting a bye. This year, it looks like they're going to need a similar run to make March Madness because they are currently the first team out in the latest ESPN bracketology. And so we're just hoping that Joni Taylor's squad, you got to get that win against Mississippi State first. And if you get that win against South Carolina, it looks like they should all but be in that dance. So big game on Thursday at 11 a.m. for Texas A&M women's basketball. Moving to the other side of the hardwood, men's basketball in a similar situation on the outside looking in. They will host Mississippi State for senior night tomorrow at 8 p.m., needing a win desperately to keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive. They are currently in the next 4 out, which is different from the next 4 out of the tournament. So they're, I guess you could say, the 5th team out from the bubble. So every game from here on out is a must win. Last season, Mississippi State beat them in Starkville to end their SEC regular season title hopes. If you remember, it came down to a game between Texas A&M and Alabama. Mississippi State beat Texas A&M late, and A&M would have won the SEC regular season with that win against Alabama, but they didn't. So you're hoping that this can be a little bit of a revenge game for Buzz Williams and his team.
Well said, my friend. Roger and Rosso on the text line. Dude, you're spending too much time with Olin. Thanks and kick him.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. He's like, he's always here. The guy works all the time. All right, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, tap and hop. We're going to pound the brakes. Wait, pound the brakes?
Huh?
Pound
I think you were
the rock.
You were all gas, no brakes.
That's okay. Please, don't insult me.
Okay.
It's TexAgs Radio. So Hop came in the studio and said, I've joined the old guy team. I'm an old guy for complaining about social media and all that stuff.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I was dying laughing during that segment with Tom Hart. I was just laughing. Technology.
I mean, get off your phones. Unless you're on TexAgs.com, of course.
Of course.
It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And it is, of course, pounding the rock, tap and hop with us. Hey, friends.
How you doing?
Oh, hi. Hey, what's up? Hey, so I am not going to read too much into a victory over Georgia, as we shouldn't. But they did get back to some of the basics. Hop, start us off here because they did get back to rebounding well. They got back to forcing turnovers. They got back to going to the line. And this is with Wade struggling off.
Yeah, they've certainly in the last, even going back to the South Carolina game, although they didn't win, I thought you saw that there's a little more movement in the ball in the half court. Wade wasn't taking that quick 30-foot shot, and it was more, and they were doing some high post entry passes, some things, not just, hey, we're going to do a high post screen and ISO. There was more there. I think also in this last game is that they used Manny not just as a replacement for Boots or Wade. They had all three in the game at the same time, and I think that really opened up. Manny had man on man, and he's so physical and long, he was able to really work his guy and get to the basket.
You know, I think a lot of us have been asking where's Manny been most of the season because, you know, we see, and again, we're not there every day. And, you know, I know some people go, well, he's either going to give you everything or turn the ball over every time. But sometimes I just felt like, especially when they were struggling, they could have given him a few more opportunities. But either way, like you said, rarely have we seen this year where we've seen Boots, Wade, and Manny on the floor. And those three seem to work well together.
I just really like his skill set, and I compare him a lot to Solo because he is a bit erratic at times with the ball, but he has the length, he's got the athletic ability to get to the rim. When he's reined in, he's a very difficult matchup, Hop.
Yeah, well, I think Manny as the prime, as the quote point guard, probably isn't his best. His arms are so long, it's just the ball is so far away. But those long arms really work when he's slashing to the hole, and some of the shots that he made just because his arms are so long, and he can, and that's where they need to, you know, obviously the rest of this year, but going in next year is how do you best utilize his talents, because he has a lot of physical strengths, but he also has some limitations on skill wise.
Can he morph into being like a Boots kind of player?
I mean, I think that's what Buzz was always trying to get him to be, more just come in and take Boots' place. But you know, when you talk about his arms, but his body control, I mean, it works well especially when he's going on the board. But when y'all were talking and it hit me, have we ever put a team as athletic on the floor this season than we did probably with Boots, Wade, Manny, Anderson, and Solo? I mean, that's probably the most just athletic team we've played, where it wasn't like, okay, we got to wait for this guy, or you know, even because as good as Henry is, he's still just not the pure athlete.
I feel bad. Usually I talk with you a lot about women's basketball, so let me ask this question. Between women's and men's, who do you think has a better chance to get into the tournament?
It depends on India Rogers with the women. If she comes back, you know, again, she's missed the last 3-4 games. But, you know, when Joni talked to us when we were on the road in Knoxville, she says there was just a cleanup, and she was off crutches the next day. I mean, she's been walking since then, been doing, you know, non-weight bearing exercise and conditioning and stuff, and it was just to tolerate what she could tolerate. And when the doctors and the therapists and everything said yes, she could go, and she said, I know she'll be limited, but just to have her on the floor. If India comes back, I think the women, but if not, then the men.
But does that include beating South Carolina in round 2? Or do you think?
You know, here's the odd part. So we're in Knoxville talking, and here's Tennessee at that time, where they were fourth place team in the SEC. They were a lock for the for the NCAA tournament. Their net was 36. Now here was A&M. You know, oh my gosh, their net was 39. And it was still 42 going into this last game against Alabama. So, you know, I don't understand all that stuff, but I just know at the end of the season, everybody goes, oh, this is their net. But it just hit me going, how can a team that's a lock in fourth place in this conference be only 3 spots ahead of this team that, you know, it seems to really be struggling right now? So, I mean, again, I just think if India can come back and get them, they're not going to beat that. I think South Carolina is going to win it all. I mean, that's just probably the biggest no-brainer there is.
Hop, is net one of those things that people act like they know what it means, but they don't know what it means half the time?
I think we know what it means, but then when the selection show happens, we go, we thought we knew what it means, but we really don't. Right. There's still going to be politics behind the closed door. Sure. And I think that's going to be the key why this game with Mississippi State's so important, because you beat Mississippi State, I think then you're tied with Mississippi State. Theoretically, and you'd have the tiebreaker against them. So moving their way up the conference standings, even though the NCAA says it doesn't matter what your place is in the conference standings, I think it does matter, because in the end, they're going to negotiate how many bids does the SEC get, how many bids does the Big 12 get. There will be that horse trading inside those rooms.
Well, interestingly, I'm looking at it. Mississippi State 8-8, LSU, a team that we thought wasn't going to be very good, except that first game we realized they're not as bad as we thought. 8-8. Then you got Ole Miss and A&M 7-9. Those 4 teams, do one of those 4 teams for sure make the tournament, you think?
I know watching the LSU game this past, I guess it was Saturday, the guys on TV, and I don't even remember who it was, all they kept saying is, if there's a team to be concerned about, that surprise team of the SEC tournament, they thought LSU was it, the way they were playing at that point.
Guys, I'm looking at this. I feel after Mississippi State dropped one, I feel much better about A&M having a chance to get in. If they're going to get 7, at one point it was 8 or 9 teams getting in the tournament. If it's 7, A&M wins these next 2 games, they're that 7th team, right?
Yeah, because if they're tied with Ole Miss and one game behind Mississippi State, those are the 2 teams they play. So that'll put them above them. And like I said, it'll come down to you can't lose that first game in the SEC tournament.
Well, here's something though. I'm looking at LSU. They play Arkansas and they play Missouri, and they got 8 wins. So they could end up with 10.
Where are they?
They're at Arkansas and they host Missouri.
Yeah, LSU's won some games, but didn't they? I don't know. They're all of those teams in that area are erratic.
Yeah,
you don't know.
It comes down to how much is the committee going to respect the Southeastern Conference, the SEC, and go, yep, this is just a conference that beats each other up. They deserve a lot of teams, and I don't know if historically in basketball the SEC's gotten that type of respect.
But I will say is that the ACC is very weak this year.
Right.
Very weak, and Pac-12, as we know, is disintegrating. So there's a lot of spots there. As long as there are not a lot of upsets in those smaller conference tournaments, to where a smaller conference gets 2 bids as opposed to the 1 automatic bid, I think A&M and a lot of these SEC schools have a fighting chance. At 9-9.
Just keep winning.
That's what I'm saying. A&M can all we got to do is win.
If they win out and win a game in the tournament, you get the 10 wins, right?
I think they're in.
I would hope so, and hopefully LSU loses on that path. All right, Wade Taylor. I keep waiting for like a button to be pushed over the last 2 weeks, and he's going to go be the old Wade Taylor. Do you guys have that same kind of think it could still happen, or is he so worn down that 15 to 18 points might be a good night for him right now?
Well, I don't think we're going to see the old Wade Taylor, because I think everybody on that team has realized, maybe as a whole we're a little bit better with Wade being productive in other areas, in the assist category, in the distribution. It's not always a good thing when Wade scores 28 points, because he's probably shooting 60% of the shots.
And the other side, you mentioned the worn down and stuff, but he's just he's a better creator, I think, still than just a flat out shooter sometimes. And I don't always like his shot judgment. He does. I know when he's hot, go ahead and take it, but it takes him a couple of shots to realize he's not on that role. But I think the other players, as you said, have realized we're better when he's just an average guy than have to be that superstar.
But you still probably need 2 guys, 2 alphas to give you 35, 40 points in a game, right? Don't you need a Boots 20?
How much attention does he still take from everybody else being on the floor? I mean, so he's an alpha whether he's scoring or not.
Yeah. I think the fact that you're right, he's an alpha, they're still going to guard him that way. That just means there's going to be more opportunities for Manny, for Jace Carter, and those guys. Those are the guys you need. You need to see Jace Carter hit double digits, to score 10, 12 points. You need Manny to score 10 or 12 points. When I see that happen, then Boots get his normal 18 to 20. You see that, I think the team's okay.
With a chance to make the tournament, right? The chance. That's where we are. If I would have told you, you may get 4 to 10 points from Wade Taylor, and you may get nothing from Henry, would you believe they would have a chance a couple months ago?
No.
Yeah. Not a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But, again, it's whether you want to call it buzz, magic, or whatever, he seems to find the right formula. And I still remember, I guess it was Henry's first year when they made that run in the SEC tournament. Manny was starting. Henry was the 5, if I'm not mistaken, during that run.
Yep.
He just finds the right spots for the people at the right time.
Yeah, I'm worried about those guys' production, but I'm also intrigued by what we're seeing from some of the other casts, because it has forced Anderson to take a bigger role. It has forced Jace Carter, and maybe now that they've got a victory under their belt, it's not a mental block at the moment. When they take on Mississippi State at home, they feel like this is our game.
Hopefully, I say hopefully because Mississippi State is a completely different animal than Georgia. This is going to be a war tomorrow night. You know, A&M, obviously, we know the statistics on the offensive rebounding and total rebounding. Mississippi State's right behind them.
Yeah.
They got Tolu Smith. They're very physical. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how Anderson Garcia and Solo work against their bigs. It's going to be an intriguing matchup. It's going to be a very tough, even though it's at home, that's going to be a very tough game to win.
You know, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't there a baseball game going on close to the same time? And you know, is that going to split up some of the students? You know, you never know. I mean, I always wonder about that.
Yeah, I think the baseball game's at 6 and
Okay.
the basketball game's at 8.
Okay, good.
So we'll see.
What do you think is the key for these next two? Like, if you were to pinpoint one thing, all right, this is what they've got. Is it what we kind of saw in this game against Georgia? Got to get more rebound, got to get the free throw line, and got to force some steals.
I've always thought that all of those are important, but if I'm going to pick one, it has to be made free throws. If you look Georgia, I think they're plus 10 in made free throws. And usually when you look at games with A&M, when they win the free throw battle by a pretty good amount, they have a good chance of winning that game. And that's why I think they're changing strategy from Wade as the primary driver to Wade the distributor's help, because Wade in recent weeks has not gotten those calls when he goes to the SEC referees are letting them play. And the times that used to be when Wade would stumble and fall to the ground, beep. There in the last 3 weeks, part of the problem with Wade's production was that whistle wasn't going off, and then it turned into a live ball turnover going the other way.
I was going to say that was the stat they always used to say, we have more made free throws than the other team even attempted during the game. But I like the balanced scoring. I would like to see the scoring spread out. You get the free throws, but spread it out amongst the 5-6 guys. So now who do we guard?
So we've gone most of the segment and haven't mentioned Solo. And my goodness, every show this week I'm going to bring up his ability to time those blocks and alter shots and just his athleticism. A reined-in Solo with a little loose cannon involved, I like.
It's just that attitude he brings. It's
Yeah.
that New Orleans East attitude. You know, sometimes you get a little nervous at night to drive through New Orleans East. I mean, I'm from there. I can say that.
It, yeah.
You know, but you know, I can tell you, Solo knows what it's like to work hard and give him an opportunity to come here, and he's making the most of it and showing his athletic ability.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, you think about he's maybe 6'7", but his vertical and his athleticism just makes him just a presence.
He just hangs too when he jumps too.
It's like he's like on a string, and it's just incredible. And then you're right. That's the question is always if we could only rein him in, but if you rein him in, do you rein in the spirit too? So
you don't want to rein him in too much. You just want him. It's like some of my favorite players. In fact, on the chat, they're talking about like I liked watching Draymond Green. A Draymond Green who goes to therapy, I don't want on my basketball team. I want a little loose cannon Draymond Green, but don't get a stupid flagrant. That's kind of like my mindset when it comes to that kind of play. And you don't want to rein in Solo too much. You just want him to like understand the moment.
I want to rein him in on when he's guarding the guy at half court and bumping on him, and then the whistle blows and he goes, "What?"
or when he's battling for a rebound and the other guy gets a rebound, just don't reach in to try to steal it 94 feet from the other basket.
Well, so what would you say today? You would say that yes, I think they're getting in as of today with what's left ahead in their schedule, or no, they're not getting in.
Well,
TBD.
I would rather put percentages on it. I would say certainly the percentages are less than 50-50 right now.
Okay.
I'd put the odds of 30 to 40% of getting in.
I think that's how we all feel, and maybe that's the frustrating part because we know they can win these next two, and they can win a game in the tournament, and then now we're making it difficult for the committee.
But does this team thrive better being the underdog? I mean, there are teams that are better at that, you know, and so every time people have kind of written them off, all of a sudden, boom, here comes this game. So that's what I'm hoping for is, no, they're not going to get in, listen to me, and then they'll put a chip on their shoulder and come back and play.
Hop, I should say David Sandhop, you're on radio. I should say your full name. Tat Bentz, thank you both. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
All right, when we come back, I'm talking like 30-second segment next on TexAgs Radio. Time to end the day with Double Days. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggie Land since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant using Social Center. So somebody on the board, let me see if I can find it on the YouTube page, says, Ace Man says, Nuño, you like Pat Beverly and Draymond Green, but not Greg Popovich? I never said I didn't like Greg Popovich. He's not one of my favorite coaches, and I don't sometimes like the way he is with the media. But, Luke, would you agree that completely different types of personalities?
Oh, absolutely. I think Draymond and Pat Bev are...
They're players, first off.
Yeah, first of all, they're players, but they're also like really big personalities. And I think those are people that you would definitely get along with.
Yeah, I think the difference is, like, there's a meanness on the court that I appreciate. Popovich, yeah, I mean, the fact that he's a Spurs coach. By the way, I love Tim Duncan. I love Manny Ginobili. I love those guys. Manu. And Tony Parker. I didn't like when they won against the Rockets, but, or the Mavs, I should say, because I'm a dual fan there, which is not allowed, but I'm allowed because I got paid by both of them. But, Pop is I've kind of soured with Pop with personality interviews over the last few years. And Draymond Green embarrasses me sometimes. Like, don't do that, dude. And I also am like, God, I'd probably do that too. So that's a fair way of answering it, right, Luke?
Yeah, I think that's fair because both of those guys have their own podcasts now, and they're actually like pretty tame to listen to. I don't like Draymond on the court, but off the court, he seems like a pretty good guy.
Yeah, he is. I've interviewed him several times. He's funny. Pat Bev has kind of annoyed me recently, to be honest with you. He's just like going after people too much. But whatever. I do that too. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the program, Tom Schuberth, Juan Haris, Trisha Ford. We've got Recruiting Crunchy with Brian Broniger, and we've got Kendall Rogers. That and more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.